Ladies and gentlemen, anonymous cowards, it's Saturday night, October 20th, 2018, and you're tuned in to the Hidden Path Podcast. I'm your host, Resonance Rich. Also tonight in studio is our friendly audio engineer and fellow co-host, Deep Eddy, who's ready to go down the rabbit hole, isn't that right?
That's right.
This show is brought to you by godlikeproductions.com, our home and community forum. Make sure to head over there, support the site. You might even find some interesting topics that could quite possibly blow your mind. Also, we wanted to mention that a longtime GLP user needs your help. He goes by the name Sinister the Dread on Godlike Production. He's a father, fiance, and a United States veteran who is suffering with some medical issues. He has a GoFundMe page. We'd like to ask you to go over there, check it out. If you can support just a little bit, that would mean the world to him. We left his GoFundMe link in the description on the video. Tonight's guest is Bob Knudsen. He's a researcher of nefarious activities committed by the CIA. He also has personal contacts with persons who were there in Dallas the day JFK was shot. We're going to be speaking with him tonight. Bob, how you doing, Bob?
Well, fine, Richard. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for coming on, man, and speaking with us tonight.
Sure. Hell, I love the topic.
Yes.
You know, it's just, ever since I started looking into it and realized that we have all been duped.
Yes.
And
yes.
As time goes on, we know more and more about this. But,
right.
It's fascinating.
Well, the first question I think I'd ask you tonight is, what got you into this? What started you down this research path? What was it that sparked that?
I met a fellow who was there the day of the, in fact, probably the month before, too, and the whole time in Dallas when the assassination took place. And he was sitting with, while the assassination was taking place, he was sitting with a mafia member named Johnny Roselli. He's pretty well known.
Okay.
And
did he see the whole thing unfold before him?
No. As a matter of fact, okay, he never brought any of this stuff up until the last few years, and now he's in his 80s, all right?
Okay.
This is something he wanted to block out of his mind, frankly, and this was a terrifying thing.
Wow.
And he even left the country because of it. He got out of the United States.
That's scared, huh?
Mm-hmm. And at the time, he was working for Roselli. He was running a safe house in Dallas, where some of these basically bad guys were staying. You know, they come and go out of there.
Yeah.
And anyway, he was in charge of that house. And interesting thing, on the day, you know, when the assassination took place, there was every bad guy you can think about in Dallas. I mean, there were hitmen, and, you know, a lot of this, you know, there's a lot of fingerprints from the CIA because,
yes,
let's face it, they are very good at disinformation.
Oh, yeah.
Confusing things.
Hell yeah.
And they did that, you know, just by having all of these bad guys there.
Right.
So who did it, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, some people believe that John F. Kennedy Jr. named his magazine after the person who killed his father, which he named it George. I don't know if that's true or not, but what do you think about George Bush? Do you think he was involved at all as senior?
Oh, as far as involved, okay, there are many, many big names of people that were there. As far as exactly, I mean, this came from very high levels, all right? This thing started way up the food chain.
Yeah.
And, you know, like sometimes they'll say, well, I mean, it was mafia, and when I say CIA, I don't mean the CIA as an agency.
Right.
See, that's why we need to go in this a little bit. That it was a
Yeah,
rogue agency. There were rogue agents.
definitely. I mean, there's definitely some people in the CIA we would think are good, that are patriots.
Well,
But
they all thought they were patriots. I mean, that's the thing about
yeah,
the John Birch Society, for example.
yeah,
Um, they were nothing but a bunch of right-wing extremists, fanatics, whack jobs, frankly.
really.
And
So,
the reason that I know that for sure, well, of course, in hindsight, I look at it, but also my father was one.
oh,
He was one of those Republican, very right-wing. Kennedy's a communist, and I mean that's the story that was going out by the British Society. They were a group. They disguised it though
yeah,
as being a patriotic American, but they
right.
weren't. They were nothing more than a hate group, and it was very much directed by the guy that founded it, and that's zillionaire Welch, I think his name was, one of the big candy owners. I don't know what company he owned. One of the real big ones.
Yeah.
These are very wealthy people
Oh, yeah.
that founded the society.
Yeah, and the CIA, we know, just from what we know as far as the tip of the iceberg, where they go out and they do these operations, clandestine operations, right? They'll go out and...
They have more operations, and they all have code names. And it's just like, they got more code names. ZR rifle, MK Ultra.
Yep, MK Ultra.
These all mean pretty big things, and Operation Mongoose.
Yeah, Mockingbird, was that one of theirs too? Yeah.
Probably so, because they had so many.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot about the MK Ultra. I've heard that term used a lot. Wait, can you tell us what that is?
Okay, I haven't gotten into it too much, but it was mind control. A lot of it was mind control, and they were trying to actually make assassins, or using it for those purposes, that they could have someone go and become an assassin.
Yeah.
And they worked with where they would forget that they did it, or didn't know they did it, or whatever. Again, you get into this MK Ultra, and you'll see shades of it in the
Right.
Kennedy thing, the way it was set up.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, I
way
mean,
that,
just the way the Oswald was shot after he was detained. I mean, like, they're covering their tracks,
That's pretty obvious.
That's part of the manual. There are manuals, CIA manuals,
I'm
that were
sure.
released in the last few years. A lot of it is redacted quite a bit, but they do mention, they have whole plans on when you do an assassination. You plan how you're going to get away and how you're going to blame somebody else. And
Yep. Yeah, and a lot of this, like when Kennedy had his speech about the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free society. And then we see the CIA, from what we know, like MK Ultra and this stuff comes out, but there's probably a lot they're doing that we don't know of, and a lot of it is just them doing things that the American people would not really be for or support. It's almost like the old saying where we need an act of Congress to start a war. Well, they're out there doing whatever the hell they want in any part
not
of the
anymore.
world.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they did. Harry Truman started the CIA, right? And he said he regretted ever starting it because it has turned into something that it was never intended to be. Okay, so this was at the end of his term. So the next guy comes in is Eisenhower. As he's leaving office, he's saying the same thing.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. What did he say? Beware the military industrial.
The military-industrial complex. That was his.
He's known for that.
And then here comes Kennedy. Kennedy's got the same conclusion. He was going to take apart the CIA.
Yes.
So that's one of their big enemies. All right, the CIA and Kennedy, because he ended up firing Allen Dulles. Several people over issues, but no, they were at great odds.
Right.
If you'd like to just maybe mention, first of all, how many enemies Kennedy actually had, because there were a lot of them. And I don't mean enemies because they didn't like him, because, okay, the general Mr. and Mrs. guy going to work every day, they love the Kennedys, all right? The people that just have jobs, raising families, raising kids, they're not really into politics, they're not into that, because I was like that too, just too busy making a living and trying to raise my family, you know? But the stakeholders, the wealth, the oil men, for one, all right, he was enemies with them because he was going to cut the oil depletion allowance, which got them rich. He was going to stop that. The mafia hate him because they were coming down on the mafia. And he had deported, I think it was Marcello. Carlos Marcello was actually deported at one time, kicked out of the country, ended up coming back. He always vowed that he was going to kill Kennedy.
Yeah,
He's one of them involved in this.
Who was he?
Carlos, he's a very high-ranking mafia don. He actually he was the controlling one in New Orleans.
Yeah.
But that New Orleans was connected to Dallas as far as the mafia.
Wow. Yeah, and it seems
yeah.
like...
And incidentally, a lot of the planning was done in New Orleans, Dallas. It didn't all happen in Dallas. All the string pulling and everything was being done in New Orleans.
Wow. So how do you think it went down as far as on that day? They categorized the assassination as a sniper thing where, you know, somebody shot him from far away like Oswald. Do you think, you know, there's many different theories out there, the man on the grassy knoll.
It definitely came from the grassy knoll or behind the fence there, yeah. One thing that I've never gotten into, it's just too technical, is the details of where the shots come from. You know what I mean? You really need to be a scientist or engineer to figure out, you know, there guys have done that. So I say, well, you couldn't have done it from this because they get into bullet angles and velocities and all this, and I can't touch that stuff. But there was one sniper that also got involved in this way after the fact. I mean, he got in it because he went up and he was a sniper in Vietnam. And he's up in the school depository building. He says, man, I couldn't hit him. And I've got better equipment. I sure couldn't do it with that rifle, that silly little rifle that he's got.
Yeah.
If I can't do it with my equipment, he couldn't possibly do it. So that got him started in this. And he's written at length too.
Yeah.
On it, just from a different angle there. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's a terrible day for Americans. I know I've definitely spoken with people who were alive during that time, and they would all tell me that it was a tragedy because I think the American public did like Kennedy.
Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Working person, just the regular people. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, they were Camelot, you know, they were.
Yeah, exactly.
And the more that I've learned about Kennedy, I think he was a fine president. And I really never had that much of an opinion at that time because I just wasn't much into politics. But when I read about what he was all about, and he was all about peace.
Yeah.
Okay? And one of the things that set the military-industrial complex against him was, see, he was having some negotiations with Khrushchev. And, well, to start this, see, he had made a speech at American University, and it was all about peace on Earth, and we have to have peace. Well, this was actually played in the Soviet Union. Khrushchev liked the speech. And he said, "This is a good man. I mean, he understands because the military-industrial complex, I swear,
they're out of control."
Yeah, and their thinking was, I mean, Kennedy realized that you just can't be having nuclear wars.
Yeah.
We'd all die.
Right.
The end of the world.
Yeah.
And Khrushchev knew that.
Right. Do you think they've been operating still until this day? I mean, obviously that would be an obvious. They're still doing things, pulling strings. But we've seen that before, like you mentioned earlier, with these assassinations. Like, I think it was the assassination of John Lennon. The guy, after he shot John Lennon, he was just sitting on a corner with that book, The Catcher in the Rye, and he was, he had the hallmarks of MK Ultra, you know. I'm not sure if that was a CIA thing, but we've seen all the time, many different times. I mean, Martin Luther King.
Well,
Kennedy.
that definitely was it.
Yeah.
And that was all tied into Kennedy, both the Kennedys, Martin Luther King. This is all. See, the CIA tried to discredit any of the peace marchers,
Right.
any of the, peace walks for equality. I mean, they were, they would trash all of these people. J. Edgar Hoover was one of them.
Yeah.
Discredit them. That's what was being espoused.
Yeah, they probably still do that to this day, where they infiltrate these protesting organizations and pretend like they're part of the protesters, and then they go out and start violent.
Exactly. That's done on both sides. Also, the wealthy guys, the Koch brothers, and of course they were much on that side of the CIA. The Koch brothers are the most of the real big money. On the day that Kennedy came, of course, I don't know if you knew this, but they had the airplane drop all of the wanted for treason flyers down on the town.
Oh, when was this?
It was just before Kennedy came.
To Dallas?
The day before or the day.
They were dropping flyers that said what?
Wanted for treason with his picture on it.
Kennedy's picture?
This was absolutely.
Wow.
That's how bad Dallas was. You have to understand what, of course this is down in Dallas was probably one of the worst areas. I mean, in the South is like that a lot. I mean, I know it's the Bible Belt and all of this, but
that's interesting.
These people all felt. Oh yeah, they all felt that Kennedy was a traitor because they were putting out that disinformation.
Right.
I mean, it's
kind of seeing that today too.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've probably been seeing it the whole time, but it seems like more and more now, the American public is starting to realize that, hey, can't trust everything we hear from the television or whatever, even the newspapers, because...
Well, they're directed too. It's like everybody is directed. The news people can't put out exactly what they want to put out either.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You go along with...
Yeah, you go along with what your boss says. You got to put food on the table. Wasn't the CIA involved in... Didn't they get into Hollywood, too? Didn't they have some kind of operation where they were... I don't know, maybe mistaking that, but...
They could be. The mafia now was big there.
Yeah.
Well, with John Roselli, the guy that I was telling you about, he was a major player in Hollywood in the Union there.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about John Roselli. The audience probably knows more than I do, but I'm clueless on this guy. And Eddie's going to look him up here, but...
He was in the Chicago outfit. He was directly under Sam Giancana. The highest up, I guess.
Yeah.
Roselli was quite a colorful figure. I mean, he was a very well-liked individual. I'm trying to think of some of the stuff that they did.
So he was part of the mob in Chicago then?
Absolutely.
Mob
Absolutely.
soldier.
Very, very high up.
Yeah.
Very high up. But see, they took over. They went to Hollywood. And Roselli was the guy that was there and ran I'm trying to think which union it is. I'd know it if I heard it. It's one of the studio unions, but there's a couple different ones.
Yeah.
But he ran that. Yeah, the mafia was very big there. But when you realize that the CIA had mafia connections, because Roselli was hired and this is, you can look this up. This is
Yeah, we're pulling up his
by the,
Wikipedia right now.
yeah. But they hired him to assassinate Castro. And Rizali wasn't even going to charge him because, again, they think of themselves as patriots. They really do.
Wow.
I mean, who's going to do that? You be a gangster and murdering people and think of yourself as a patriot.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, especially when they do these operations where they go out and they'll assassinate political figures in other countries.
That's right. And see, a lot of that was illegal.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
was CIA stuff done. And these are some of the things that why the presidents were. See, they didn't even know about some of this stuff. Kennedy did not know some of the stuff that was going on, and
yeah,
done by the CIA. Well, when the CIA was started, it was supposed to be under the president, where the president would know.
Right.
And they were given too much power. There was some Senate bill or something passed where they got way more power than they ever had when it was founded.
Right.
I got to look that up.
My personal opinion, this is just my personal observation opinion, I could be totally wrong, is that after John F. Kennedy, it seems like the CIA went about to take control of the executive branch for quite some time. That's just my opinion. But, they had already been involved with, like you said, misinformation. They could use that for elections or whatnot. It's just... Yeah, CIA. I don't know whether that stands for Central Intelligence Agency or Cancer in America or...
Yeah. No. And again, it wasn't necessarily I'm sure there are a lot of very honest, good people in the FBI and the CIA. And
right.
It's the group at the very top.
Yes.
That are sinister. And Dulles was one of them, and there's... Angleton was another one, and
yeah,
I can't think of some of the names right now, but they were some pretty. They were avid about fighting communism, like McCarthy was.
Right.
They tear down anybody, if they would.
Yep. In the name of, what
saving
the best
America.
thing is.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. That's
what they thought was the best thing to do. Yeah. Yeah. So this guy Roselli, he was hired to take out Fidel Castro. That's interesting.
Yeah.
They had a rough time trying to get him.
No, they had, and they were going to poison him first. It wasn't going to shoot him. And I'm trying to think what happened. Darn near.
Says the agency gave the mobsters 6 poison pills to murder him. For several months, they anti-Castro Cubans tied to the mafia tried unsuccessfully to put the pills in Castro's food. Yeah, and then there was the Bay of Pigs invasion. That's interesting.
They didn't want Castro. Our government didn't want it known that we were assassinating someone.
Right.
See? So poison, you can cover that.
Yeah.
It's just like this assassination that just happened in Turkey. I don't know what's going on with
the
that.
journalist? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Khashoggi. What was his name? I think it's Khashoggi.
Yeah, I can't remember.
You see, there's an example where that was an assassination of some type. Now, how they handle this, we'll see. How they cover it up, or how much they.
Yeah.
But this stuff goes on way more than we ever knew, especially then, especially back in the '60s when we didn't have internet, we didn't know all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, we're starting to see a lot of things that came out. You seen that heart attack gun that the CIA had developed?
Yes, they can do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And cancer. And see, they gave Jack Ruby cancer.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is all,
Yeah, it's no longer just speculation anymore. I think a lot of people, they no longer look at it like we still look at it. JFK's assassination as exactly the way they told us it happened. that's the same thing goes for other events in history. There's always going to be um, an inside job aspect to it, I guess. That
I think this is one of the worst, though, because when you have the Warren Commission made up of a future president of the United States, what Earl Warren was the Supreme Court, that just plain botched something that bad.
yeah,
I mean, these are people's most important jobs in the world.
yeah,
I mean, and they got by with pulling that off.
right,
It's really disgusting. And J. Edgar Hoover, holy cow! You know, he denied there was even a mafia until he had to. Well, because he hung out with them. He used to go to he knew all those guys. They were,
yeah. How infiltrated did how much of the government got infiltrated by the mafia, do you think, or controlled by it? And do you think it went on after that time into the 70s and 80s really well? Do you think they've
well, there was one guy, and he was one of the involved in the assassination. His name was Richard Kane. All right, and this guy was in the mafia, and he's still there. I heard my phone make a funny.
Yeah, we're still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, I think it was Sam Giancana got him. He said, you should be in the police department. So they get him in the police department, and he's in the mafia.
Yeah.
He's in the police department. Well, he rose right to the top very quickly. He was a little bit short to get in, but it's amazing. He kind of got tall enough when he was standing on a stack of $100 bills.
Yeah.
Made him tall enough to make it. You got to read this guy's story, though. I mean, it's fascinating. He was a very successful policeman, police officer in Chicago, and yet he was a mobster. He was there he could warn when the mob was going to get hit, he could warn them.
Oh, okay.
He was finally murdered. He was finally hit himself.
Yeah.
But to believe that this guy could have a double life is that much of a double life.
Right.
I mean, it's incredible. Richard Kane, his brother, wrote the story on him.
Richard Kane. You should look him
Kane,
up.
yeah, and he was involved in the Kennedy assassination too somewhere.
Yeah. How much of history do you think was changed from that event? Do you think it's really had an impact as far as the way our country's, the direction we've gone since then? Obviously you think it's one of the worst events. And a lot of people do feel that way too. But a lot of it seems to feel like that the CIA has taken more control since then. Like they got what would you call it? Sort of an arrogance about themselves. Like if they can take out the president, then they can do anything, right?
Oh, absolutely. But that was the business they're good at. They can take someone out. And there was even something in one of the regulations that if a head of state is a danger to freedom or to the Constitution, he can be taken out.
Wow.
And this is what they were probably looking at. In other words, there's always some kind of something to justify their cause.
Right.
But that does exist, because I had read that.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
wow.
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, Kennedy's, but he's a communist, and he's ruining our country. You have an
but
obligation to do that.
he was elected by the American people, and a government which
that's right. Well, yeah, you don't
right.
you don't need a hearing or anything. It's like no, they even have a thing for that too.
What's that?
Well, you don't have to go through due process.
Right. Yeah.
Through the courts to be convicted.
How bad do you think it is today, right now? Do you think they're still running around doing crazy stuff?
You know, I think they're spying on us as people. Is frightening how much they know about us
Yeah,
as people.
right. And there's a lot of theories that the CIA was involved in the developments of things like Facebook, things like Keystone, which was later brought out as Google Earth, where they had all their satellite pictures and their data mining. Definitely, that's for sure. That's NSA type stuff too, but it's kind of bothersome that they're watching us too. You think?
Yes. Yeah. Now they know a lot about, or they can find out all kinds of things about us. I guess, from what I understand, like
Yeah.
which they wouldn't have been able to do 20 years ago or whatever. One of the most ironic things, though, about the Kennedy assassination is, he was all about peace. He really was.
Huh.
And here he was assassinated by and called the communists when he's the guy that was really doing the right things for America. He really was. He solved the the missile crisis with Khrushchev.
Right.
He did that by negotiating and talking, and they worked it out. That was a very dangerous time.
Yeah.
Hell, there's no telling what would have happened if he hadn't have done that. They had to let the military. They wanted to go to war over it.
Right.
They wanted to attack.
Yeah.
I mean, holy crap!
Do you think that's similar with like nowadays Trump talking to North Korea?
Oh, I think it's terribly frightening that what's going on there. There is a new book out, House of Trump, House of Putin, or something like that.
Yeah.
It's brand new out, and I'm curious to see if it will last out there. See what happens sometimes. They get wind of this, and they'll buy them up and get it off the market.
Oh.
But my friend has the book and has just started, but but see, a lot of books just disappear when they
Yeah. That's
well,
an
they're bought
interesting
off.
aspect too.
They have all kinds of money to do this.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
If anybody could, it'd be Trump, his people, or whatever.
Yeah, we've seen like the CIA, a lot of Hollywood movies glorifying the CIA, and I'm sure, like we said before, there's probably good people in all agencies, but at the high levels and some of the more higher operations.
That's the danger. Like J. Edgar Hoover. I mean, he's gay. You knew that, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I've heard that before.
Yeah. No. It's this guy Tolson was his number 2 man.
Okay.
And that was his boyfriend.
Wow.
But they hid it. They hid it because this was back in the
it was back in the day.
60s when they hid it. And he was against gays, overtly, Oh yeah, no. It's the same old lie. But
yeah. So you think Trump's involved with Russia, huh?
it seems that it's gone on for a lot of years.
Yeah.
I
Why haven't they found any information, you think, on that Russian investigation?
Yeah,
that seems to be going the way.
I know. This is where we don't know, but it's who knows? We're at some low level. We don't know what's going on.
That's for sure.
No way we can find out
unless we get it through some kind of media source, right, or outlet, or through the internet, which is how we're
sometimes right, sometimes that's misinformation too.
Yes. Yeah. So, what are some of the more nefarious activities you think the CIA's, and with your research? Do you think some of the worst? Do you think it's the assassinations? Their hitmen?
Oh yeah, well they've done that, but they did quite a bit of work on torture.
Oh,
this is in recent. I mean, this is during the Bush administration. No, they did a lot of experiments with torture.
Right. That's bad. What kind of torture?
And I don't know. I've seen a couple books. I'd never really liked to read that kind of stuff, but
Yeah,
they experiment with all kinds of.
Yeah, didn't they use
things.
LSD on Americans and
Yes,
stuff?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. LSD is one of the things they did, but it's
Wow.
who they were using it on and who they used for guinea pigs. That's an issue too, because they have to.
Huh.
And I don't know. We don't know again today what's happened. How much is? But it was going on during the Bush administration. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've also heard of the CIA smuggling drugs too. Drugs, weapons, even some hints of human trafficking. Like the movie, Tom Cruise just came out with that movie with Tom Cruise in it. Jeez, what's that movie called? American Made, right? Where he's kind of bringing in. Well, I think he did that on his own, but still, he was bringing up soldiers from where was it? Colombia. Yeah.
Well, the one thing you learn when you study this, truth is stranger than fiction.
That's
There's
true.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
And
do you think we need to get rid of the CIA?
Yeah, well, a couple of the presidents sure thought so, or they need to change what they do, I guess. I don't know. It's not only the CIA, there's other agencies,
Oh yeah.
What's DISC, Department of Industrial Security, or NSA? It's all of these. They're all intertwined.
Yeah, the intelligence agencies.
The CIA, yes, intelligence, all the different things, and another things. We're involved somewhat with the Mossad,
yeah, Israel's intelligence.
Yeah. I mean, there's some overlap there, and they may have had at least known about the Kennedy thing, or
right.
Believe me, it's very, very high up. See that Kennedy. That's another one of his enemies was the Jews.
Yeah.
Or Israel. I can't remember exactly what it was, but believe me, he had enemies in so many different factions. For one thing, of course, the mafia had helped get him elected. You knew that, right?
Right.
And so that was a double cross. And you know about that little gig, don't you? The book Double Cross and how.
Not too much. No, I'm actually not too well versed on the whole JFK assassination thing. I just know probably what the public knows as far as conspiracy.
Joe Kennedy worked with the mafia quite a bit.
Oh.
And so when Robert Kennedy goes and comes after the mafia, the very people that got him elected, that was a death sentence right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I want try to look up what it was Israel was mad at JFK for, Eddie. I never heard that before. That's interesting. Yeah. Israel and JFK, maybe.
Yeah, they were at odds. I'm trying to think which the Jewish leader was at that time. At your end, or no? I can't remember.
Huh. Yeah, Israel's central role in JFK assassination. Let's look that up. Oh, they say it's the missing link in the JFK assassination. Huh. Israel's role. We've often heard, too, Israel's role in a lot of things. Some people believe they had a role in 9/11. And some people think the CIA had a role in 9/11. Yeah, weird stuff. Did you hear about that a while back? Those beheading videos that were coming out from Al Qaeda or ISIS. They were all staged by a British PR company that the CIA had paid to make.
Really? Did they have somebody come out and expose that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you should try to look it up.
I
remember
when it was going on. You'd see these beheadings.
Yeah, right. Well, we've heard of other things too, like Al Qaeda.
Well, see, the CIA did do things against Kennedy to try and embarrass him and make him attack Cuba. They did things that would
Yeah.
Well, one of them. So it's all certainly believable. It's the way.
Do you think the mafia had any involvement in founding the CIA, getting it founded?
No,
No, no.
no, that was strictly at wartime. At the end of the. See that was the OSS. Was the military version, and when the war ended, the OSS was closed down, and the CIA was founded.
Yeah.
But a little different authority, though, and it was intended to have different authority. One of them was a wartime,
Right.
thing, and the other one's peacetime.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Ted actually just texted me. He said JFK trying to stop Israel's nuclear program. Oh. That might have been why they were pissed.
okay, yeah.
If that's true.
Yeah, that's. I think that was it.
Because supposedly they have a lot of nuclear weapons, Israel. They're loaded up.
Yes.
They could take the whole place out. Yeah. But, yeah, that's interesting.
Well, you know who first was really concerned about the nuclear war was Einstein.
Mm-hmm.
And he stated he was almost sorry that he had created the atomic bomb, and he was just afraid that it was going to be used for the wrong purposes, and it didn't have to be used, frankly, at that point.
Right.
When they did Nagasaki, I can't remember which one was first, but
yeah, I think they started that in Oak Ridge.
Yeah, Truman seemed happy about it, right? He just killed another 300,000 people, and it's just, I don't know. But no, Einstein was
Could you tell
very
us?
concerned about it.
Yeah, could you tell us more about the Bay of Pigs incident? What exactly was that all about?
Okay, they wanted to get Fidel Castro. They wanted to start an uprising without America, without our government being involved. In other words, they wanted to see them have their own revolt. Okay, so we really were behind it. We were arming them, getting them ready, but it was supposed to be on the QT.
Yeah.
It was to get Castro out, and he had taken over for Batista. Of course, when Batista was there, all the mafia were happy. They were involved in the casinos. They were all making money, big money. And so when Castro came in, he shut them all down.
Oh.
Kicked them all out.
Yeah.
Kicked all the mafia out.
Right.
So that's when Marcello lost like $20 million. That's a lot of money back in the 60s.
Yeah. Still a lot of money for me.
So anyway, is what they did. The CIA was mostly behind this. They're going to go in and take it over. Okay. Have an assault. Well, they had really planned. They wanted to see an all-out war. So
Right.
they figured once they started this, that Kennedy would bring in air power and back them up. But he didn't. So this is what pissed off a lot of people. This was not Kennedy's fight in the first place. This was the CIA thinking they're going to control him, manipulating him to start a war.
Right.
To start a war.
Wow.
So he took terrible heat on that, where it really wasn't, he didn't want to be involved in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like
So
two factions fighting each other inside our government.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. So that's a perfect example.
Wow.
And there were other incidents where the CIA would, and the military-industrial complex, they wanted to have the war, which was stupid. I mean,
Big money for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And then also the big thing on Vietnam, of course, you realize that Kennedy was stopping Vietnam. All right, he was basically he passed the bill. He was pulling the troops out of Vietnam.
Right.
Okay. After he was killed, Johnson totally reversed it. And that's when the big buildup started in Vietnam. All of the billions of dollars spent, all the helicopters and all. It all started. That wouldn't happen when Kennedy was there.
Right.
Again, he was all for peace. He was all for negotiating.
That's not. Yeah, that doesn't work.
Nope. But the military-industrial complex. But Kennedy didn't realize. Look, these people put me in office. I have to do what they tell me to do, not what's good for America. He was doing what was good, what he felt was good for America.
Yeah.
At that level, you have to do whatever your people above you, whoever put you there, because they own you. I mean, really, you get into even the presidency. He's got to account to these major players. You see,
Yeah.
Trump does it too.
Yeah, I think almost every president's had to answer to somebody, probably.
Absolutely.
Whether that be
look
their
at why you
donors.
look at the way that he picked up the evangelicals. He was really smart because when he was running, he realized that he could get them all by saying the right things. He changed to anti-abortion, teamed up with, look at his vice president.
Yeah.
He picked up all of those people.
Right.
All the evangelicals he picked up just like that.
Yeah, politics. It's something else, but that's the one thing too. Is like with the CIA, none of those people are really elected officials. They're mostly put in by the executive branch, right?
That's right. That's right.
And a lot of them we don't even know about. Probably some, we talk about compartmentalized.
Yes.
The way the military-industrial complex does their business, they just let us see what they want us to see. Who the hell knows what they got? What they've done with our money and what they've made with our money and what actions they've committed. It could be for the good of America. I'm not too sure. It all really stinks, I think.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any close calls with the CIA? No.
No.
Digging into these type of things? No.
No. Well, now it's really different because a lot of these guys are speaking out. The people that knew something about it, or in hindsight, they were there and they wanted to keep quiet, or they haven't wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an awful lot of people. Well, you can read this book, Hit List. I think Belzer is the author on that. Have you ever heard of Hit List?
No.
Well, it tells you about 50 people that mysteriously died that were kind of around the Kennedy thing.
Right.
I mean, details, names, and everything. I mean, people would just kind of go dead, or they just were threatened to shut up.
Yeah. Wasn't Marilyn Monroe one of those people, you think?
Well, yes, absolutely, because
she was involved with him, and then she died during that time
she was
too.
She was banging Giancana and Kennedy too, and you get into that stuff, and
yeah.
But it's still, but yeah, it was. They had to cut it off with Marilyn.
Yeah, she got.
She wanted to marry Robert Kennedy. I mean, he had to dump her. She was going to be trouble. Well, LBJ's sister was trouble.
Yeah.
So she just kind of went dead, and that would probably be. Let's see. Mac Wallace would probably have something to do with that. Did you ever look up Mac Wallace?
No, go ahead and look him up. He's going to look him up now. I was going to ask you, through all your research, have you ever? What's the most shocking revelation you've received from your sources or research? Do you think?
Well, number one, that the whole story is the opposite of what was taught, what I heard,
Right.
at the time. To realize, what a good president I think John Kennedy was. And this is all in hindsight. He was doing the right things.
Right.
He founded the Peace Corps. He was
Wow.
against war. He dealt with Khrushchev
Yeah.
brilliantly, and that they admired each other.
Yeah. We just looked up Malcolm Everett Mac Wallace was an economist for the United States Department of Agriculture and served as secretary for President Lyndon B. Johnson. Wallace fatally shot John Douglas Kinzer in the clubhouse of an Austin golf course owned by Kinzer. Wallace is most widely known for his alleged participation in the assassination of John Kennedy. Huh. Never heard of this.
Well, yeah. He
died from a car accident. Oh.
Yeah, those single car accidents.
Yeah, we see those happening a lot. We got a message in from one of our guys, Stryker. He says he had some video here. 100% proof driver Bill Greer shot JFK. Now that's another thing that's happened too. Is a lot of people think that the driver or that the guy riding in the car
in my estimation, no.
No.
As simple as that. Yeah, that has to do with the research I've done and all that. No.
No. Because I've heard that before on different topics, but.
Mm-hmm.
So you think the shot was definitely from the grassy knoll then?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was up front there somewhere. I think I would say that would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So the people you knew that were there at that event, what was their kind of, when you talked with them, was it obviously something that that kind of scarred them in a way, maybe? That was traumatic?
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
This guy left the country.
Yeah,
He left the U.S. for 5 years.
Damn.
Yeah, we look back at these president assassinations, and it's something that's, it's accepted now because it's history. But could you imagine if that happened today?
Exactly.
It would be unreal.
And shortly after he learned that there were people that knew less than he knew that were going dead. So yeah. And even when he was gone out of the country for 5 years, but when he came back, he had to check with Sam Giancana, and they said, "Yeah, come on in."
Right.
He was terrified to do this because he didn't know if he was going to be knocked off.
Right.
By Giancana right then.
Yeah, one guy in the chat room, Duck and Cover, says, "Ice bullet, no trace."
Well, that was a big thing too. Was the bullet, right? So they found the bullet, and somehow it did not match with the rifle. Or do you have any info on that?
I really don't know when they get into the ballistics and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I really know nothing about.
Well, we know from the heart attack gun that this, we've seen from the Congress hearings that came out, that it wasn't it like a poison that was cryogenically frozen or something? They shot it as a dart, the actual poison. So there was, it was weird. It was like frozen something and,
Yeah, no, they do a lot of research on that type of
R&D.
thing. Like I said, for the cancer too, to Jack Ruby.
Yeah, that's
They'd
another
worked
thing.
on that a long time. They'd worked on that a long time.
Yeah, Jack Ruby, he had
he knew that he was
fast-acting cancer just out of nowhere.
He knew that this was going to happen to him. Yep.
Yeah, the CIA, they are deadly, man. They're probably some of the world's most have some of the world's most trained assassins.
Yeah, they have access to them for sure. But they knew that they could get them from the mafia or get them anywhere. They're easy to get worldwide. Yet a lot of them come from Corsica or come from these other other countries.
Yeah. So this is what one of the strongest pieces of evidence implicating Oswald is a bullet whose markings conclusively prove that it was fired from the Oswald rifle.
Who said that?
This is on this
No.
website. Yeah,
Yeah, you get in that kind of stuff.
Right. Well,
I
it's
can't
rifle,
get into it.
you know.
It's
Yeah.
that was the rifle left at the scene. I
Right.
mean,
It's set up.
No.
You can tell it's pretty pathetic too that the patsy was shot. You know, who was the
Yeah.
guy that shot him? What was his?
what was his name?
The guy that shot
Well,
Oswald?
you mean Ruby?
Was that? Oh, that was Jack Ruby. Yeah.
Jack Ruby.
Yeah, that's how much I know about this.
Mm-hmm.
So Jack Ruby then had
Well, he
cancer.
was on the.
He had
And-
mafia
and he-
ties, right?
Oh, absolutely. And here the Warren Commission comes up with a conclusion. No, we don't see any indication.
Yeah,
that
he
Jack
acted
Ruby,
alone.
and that's total bullshit.
Right.
He was from Chicago. He was involved with the outfit in Chicago.
Jeez.
And
Yeah, why would he want to kill Oswald, you know? He was so mad that he killed JFK.
Yeah.
This guy looks like he'd be pissed at JFK.
yeah, no, when you he knew that he had to do it. When he's given an order to kill him, his life is not going to get any better at this point. All right.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with a mob, and he had to do it.
Yeah, some of these people, these
You do it.
individuals are
You do it.
yeah, right. You
there's
don't
no
walk
out.
away. Right.
There's no out.
Right.
So Oswald was supposed to have been killed prior to. It didn't happen.
Well, I've heard
There-
the video that shows where Oswald was shot. Some people like to say that you can kind of see the officers kind of standing away from him, like they almost know he's about to be shot. And I don't know, that may just be, the opinion
That's
of some, but
fascinating.
it's an interesting thing to look at
Pull
when
up
you watch
that
the video.
Oh, we probably can't pull that video up and get banned off YouTube, but everybody's seen that video. That's an interesting theory.
Well, see
too.
how they knew each other. Oswald knew Jack Ruby. So when he saw Jack Ruby coming out, he knew he was going to be killed by him. He knew something was going on.
Yeah. Why did they pick Oswald, do you think, to be the patsy?
Because if you look into your CIA, the way they do it,
Mm-hmm.
it's very well thought out. Okay, they wanted someone that would have a connection to the Soviets and see, he had been to the Soviet Union. This is all being ready, so it's you can accuse him very easily. Oh, yeah, he was over in Russia. He's a communist or whatever. No, it was well planned out in advance.
Yeah, they find
He
somebody
was
that
gonna
has ties to
That's right. No, they
opposition of JFK.
they would seek them out. No, they think this stuff out. They really did it. They planned it.
Right.
Something that would be credible. And that made it very credible.
Do you think Oswald was involved in any way? Do you think he was there during the assassination, or was he just?
He was duped. He was kind of drugged out. They said, which another thing would be like the CAA thing, because he was kind of out of it.
Yeah.
I had heard that.
Probably drugged him and dragged him there and placed him right where
Yeah.
they
Well, no,
wanted.
he worked in the building. You know that.
Okay.
He worked there. Why wouldn't he be there?
Right.
Just kind of funny the way that he got a job there, though. Just before that, like.
Oh wow, I didn't know he worked in that
Oh
building.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Huh.
So there's.
Now, wasn't there something recently about some files that are still classified about this whole JFK investigation that Trump was going to release, or that somebody wanted released and then it didn't end up happening? That it was supposed to be released. It had been so many years.
Yeah,
Can you look
that's
that
right.
up?
But well, this is what happens though.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff
The
comes.
public
it's all
doesn't need to know.
It's redacted though. A lot of it is
Right.
not that valuable of stuff. Now you get certain things out of it.
Yeah.
But it's covered up. They cover their tail. Anything
Right.
they don't want out, they, so it's probably covered up years ago.
Yeah, it says Trump
Redacted.
delays the
Then,
full release of some of the
yeah. See,
JFK.
then stuff goes on, and
Yeah,
again, what's fed to us again is
that it was national security concerns the
mhm,
reason they wouldn't release it. I imagine
mhm.
because
Yeah.
the public would probably be pissed if they knew something about what we're talking about, which we think is the truth.
Yeah, and besides that, what else would it be for national security
And talk
concerns?
about national security. How about Trump's kid over there dealing with the Russians? I mean, it's like we have no idea what's going on there, but
Trump's
money
kid.
wise and what
Oh
kind
yeah.
of deals. Oh man, it's just hard to know.
Well, I'll definitely give you that. People at the top, people with a lot of money, they're playing a game that we can't really see.
That's
So,
exactly right.
you know, um, yeah, I don't know. What is this? Senator Ted Cruz's father played a role in the assassination. I remember that. Oh, that was Trump who suggested that.
Ted Cruz was
Wasn't he
a
his father?
serial killer.
Yeah. Oh man, what a mess. Do you think the public will ever come to know what really happened? Do you think
Probably,
think so?
probably not, because how do you change the history books? Write
Right.
it down, and when a generation goes away, pretty soon everyone will be gone.
Yeah, that's
So it's just
true.
like looking back at Abraham Lincoln, what happened there, or who really did it. We never know. You just know what. But I will say, there's so much more
Yeah.
information on this Kennedy thing than anything the world has ever experienced. I mean, there's books and books and books.
Oh yeah,
But
it's a
then, who
big.
can figure it all out? You go through. Some are good, some are bad.
Some are probably
Again, it
bullshit,
just
right?
comes out as disinformation. It's
Yeah.
easy to do it.
Yeah.
They put down so much information, you don't know what the hell to believe.
I think some of the important things are some of the littler things you mentioned about what was going on at that time. That's a big thing too. Is like, you know, I wasn't alive during that time, but people that were could tell you what the feeling in the air kind of was. Like you mentioned the flyers being dropped in Dallas. I didn't know about that.
Well,
You know,
yeah.
what the state of the country was during that time, you know, what the feeling was, you know, all
Anti-communist. This was the Cold War going on. The
right.
communists were out to get us,
Yeah.
and Kennedy wasn't hard on the communists, and he needed to go in. Some of those guys were ready to attack Russia.
Yeah, like
Seriously, the military-industrial complex. Yeah,
right.
they definitely wanted to attack Cuba,
Oh
which
yeah.
would mean attacking Russia.
Right. Yeah, cuz Russia had put
I mean, it's just
wow. Yeah, so
that was a
JFK was
dangerous.
more of a
That was a
peace.
dangerous time.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just really, and he even, he had a couple books out. I'm trying to think if I can remember the name of. Profiles in Courage is one they did, but there's another one where he explained his position. Oh, The Strategy of Peace by Senator John Kennedy.
Oh.
But when you read his book, you realize he was all about really the right things for the
Yeah.
right reasons.
Yeah, I've listened to his speeches, I think his inauguration address and all that. He was a
Mhm.
brilliant man. He sounded
He really was. He
he
was a
was.
statesman. He was classy,
Yep.
and he was totally. Uh,
Here's another
he was,
fact I found out recently was that he was the only president that was a Catholic.
yeah. Oh yeah. No.
I
That
didn't
was a
know.
big issue.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, he was the first Catholic. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why. And he had those people against him. There's a lot of anti-Catholics. So
Yeah.
some people thought, you get the religion involved, especially nowadays, because you're talking about down in Texas, it's the evangelicals.
Right.
Those were the evangelicals there. And,
Right. Yeah, I never knew that until just recently, like a week ago. I found that out. I'm like, what? Really?
yep.
First Catholic? And I think the
Yep.
only Catholic.
hmm
You should look that up, Eddie. See. But yeah.
Yeah. Prior to, you couldn't get a Catholic probably elected in. It's
Huh. Yeah, do you think what do you think the mafia's role is nowadays? Do you think they've kind of gone away? Do you think they're still around heavily?
they're still around. You have new forms. Of course, you have these other, the Russian mafia here now. But even the old mafia are different in that they don't. It used to be a murta. You never would rat on someone.
Right.
I mean, they live that.
Yeah.
Well, that situation has changed. That's not like that anymore. That's like they'll sing, whichever way the wind blows for them. But it's just a different thing.
Yeah.
It's not like the old Sicilian mafia.
Right. The Godfather.
Well, even though when these guys got killed, when Roselli was killed and Giancana, they shoot him around the mouth.
What does that mean?
Okay.
Shoot him around.
Well, with a pistol, a shoot to show that's because they were talking.
Oh.
Show it's a message.
Yeah.
You don't talk. Keep your mouth shut. So both Roselli and Giancana were shot around the mouth.
Wow.
And they did that. They did that frequently. No one would talk, and you just didn't talk.
Yeah. Where was Oswald shot? In the stomach? He was shot right in the stomach, wasn't he?
Yeah, in the torso.
Yeah.
I don't know. He walked right up to him.
Just blasted him right there.
And I'm trying to think. It seems to me Oswald something, Jack USOB or something like that. He knew it was coming. See, like I said, they knew each other. This is not.
Yes. Right. Crazy. Now there's a lot of rumors, conspiracies floating around that JFK Jr. is still alive. Obviously, we don't know any of this, but
yeah, those are conspiracy theories. I'm not a conspiracy guy. First of all.
Okay.
I only got into this Kennedy thing because I got into the Warren Report, and then I started talking to my friend and reading some books and realized this is bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, this
well,
is
wouldn't you think that the Kennedy thing's a conspiracy theory?
Well, it is. I mean, conspiracy just means that.
Yeah.
I hate the kind of
conspire
that
to
word
commit something.
Yeah. So that's really So they're all
right.
conspiracy. But I think of
some of them are pretty far out for you.
Yeah. That's the ones I
right.
distance myself from if I know nothing about it.
Right. Yeah.
And I know nothing about. I've heard that they say, well, John Kennedy Jr. was really assassinated by the airplane crash, which I just have never. Not that it's not possible. There's nothing I would have any idea on.
Yeah.
It was a plane crash.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of those, like Michael Hastings. Those kind of events where I don't know much about, but there's certainly a lot of people that speak out.
Well, that's what I'm thinking about. The ones where you don't know anything about it.
Right. Yeah.
Is the ones I stay away from. Just it could be true. Who knows? But it's not anything I know anything about. That's what I mostly think of conspiracy.
Okay.
Technically, they're all conspiracy.
Right.
More than one person. Yeah.
Yeah.
How much research have you done on Operation Northwoods? Because that's a really interesting one. That goes. I mean, if there's no evidence against this one, it would look like a complete crazy conspiracy, but it is actually real. It was a proposed plan to, I think, blow up a plane with American civilians in it and blame it on the Cubans, right?
Yeah. That could happen. I don't know. I would have to look more into that.
Yeah, I think
have you researched it much? I mean,
I've heard a little bit of it on podcasts, and it was like declassified documents that show it was different government agencies, but the CIA was kind of in on it too. But it was basically it was a plan to actually blow up a American airliner with American civilians on board and blame it on the Cuban government to try to get us to go to war with them.
Okay, well that would make sense from what they were trying to do, because they did do some things like that. That seems a bit much to have to kill a bunch of Americans, though, for that.
Yeah,
But
it says
I
sinking
wouldn't.
boats of Cuban refugees on the high
Yeah,
seas, and
yeah, no,
Right.
that
I mean,
I know went on.
if they're down to do that, and who
Yeah,
knows what they have done that we still don't know about.
oh yeah. Well, they probably killed JFK. That's something the public doesn't really know about now. Our kids are being taught in school that Oswald shot him. I
they
mean,
are definitely gonna.
and
Yeah,
that's what the education system comes into play here. You know, where it's like, what's really important when you start teaching our kids maybe some of the things we've researched. You know, like, gosh, I don't know. Some of this just doesn't hold up. I just can't look at this thing and say Oswald did it the way it said they
no,
said it did. You know, I don't think you can either.
no, no, not at all, not at all. One interesting person. I'll bring up a couple names here that were shooters. There were a lot of shooters. Okay, that not all shot, but there were a lot of people along the route ready to shoot. And one of them was, actor Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
Did you know anything about him or his father?
I would know of him. Is he connected to the mob? Is he?
His father was a hitman.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Look that up.
And you can look it up. Yeah. He died, I think, in prison. But Harrelson, and he was a bad guy, but my friend knew him. He was one of the three tramps, and if they hadn't have gotten Kennedy where they did, if it went further, he would have been a shooter.
Wow.
He was there to be a shooter.
Charles Harrelson. He looks like Woody. Look at him.
Wow, I did not know that.
Dang.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
What? He assassinated a federal judge?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, he was a bad guy, man.
Huh.
And he had no qualms about doing it or anything. He was just he wasn't as bad as this guy Charlie Rogers, who was one of the guys with him. There were three of them: Charlie Rogers, Harrelson. They were known as the Three Tramps. If you research, you'll see that. Anyway, the Three Tramps. Now Rogers was a very good hitman. I mean, anyway, he killed his parents. He had killed his parents. He stuffed them in a freezer for about a year. He was one of the most sadistic people that have ever lived, probably.
Wow. Who's this guy? What's his name?
His name is Charles, let's see, I was confused. Rogers. Charles Rogers.
Stuffed him in a freezer, huh?
And then
Saving
he
him for
ended up, I think, maybe working for the CIA, teaching torture down in South America. You have to check that.
There he is. Oh no, that's somebody else. Yeah, so I'm kind of interested about the mafia today because we don't hear much about it. It's sort of like a nostalgic type thing nowadays. You know,
I think it's because it's different the way they do it, though.
Yeah.
When you look at the Russian mafia here, very much so. And they extort their own people, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
Because when they come here from Russia, like I have a friend that's Russian. He's a younger guy, but his parents came, and so he never really knew what his dad did, you know.
Oh.
And he obviously makes some pretty good money doing it, whatever it is. But they have their crime things here, ripping people off. Like, pretty smart. They get a lot of it's computer stuff.
Right.
I don't know too much about it. I know they exist big time, and same with the Orientals.
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of.
And of course the cartels, the Mexicans. I mean,
right. They're
really
running Mexico down there. All right.
ruthless.
You're against the cartels. You're hanging from a bridge the next day down there. Yeah, crazy. But as far as the Italian mob, like we had somebody in the chat mentioning the early name of the mafia in Italy
It was Sicilian to start.
Sicilian,
I
right?
I think it was
It says Black
And
Hand.
a lot of the places you had, the Black Hand, you had to be Sicilian to get in to be a made man.
Right. We've seen
And
that
that
in
changed
movies.
over the years. It was different in Chicago. You could be, you didn't have to be Sicilian or even Italian, but they kind of changed. Like Meyer Lansky, he was Jewish, and his Jewish mafia. I mean, they're.
Wow.
You know who Meyer Lansky is, don't you?
No.
Oh, he's big. Well, he was a brilliant man. He had a lot to do with the Las Vegas takeover of Las Vegas. He was an accountant. I mean, he was just one of the really smart people. And a lot of those guys were very smart guys. Very, they're the same guys that could make it if they weren't bad guys.
Right.
They could still be corporate presidents like Meyer Lansky or Roselli or whatever these guys. They'd be successful at whatever they did.
Yeah. The Black Hand. Let's see. Traced to Sicily. Huh. Yeah, a lot of these. Yeah, we got a lot of mafia activity, definitely going on. Crazy. You'd mentioned the Orientals. What like the Chinese gangs? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. There's Chinese and there's. Yeah, you go to any Oriental part of the city. I mean, no matter where it is, they're pretty strong.
Right. Yeah, they're doing their samurai thing.
Yeah.
Well, what would be a good book you would recommend for people that want to look into this more, that really want to look into this deep?
A guy named Prouty, and he was an Air Force colonel. I'm trying to think of his name. He has a couple books out. He's been deceased for 10 years or so, but he was very well aware of the CIA and what went on. I mean, he was top level Air Force.
Okay, and he wrote a couple books or something. Crowdy?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Look it up, Eddie.
Was it Prouty or Crowdy?
No, he's in Paul.
Getting Proudy. There you go. Okay.
Did you find him?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, wait a minute. Here, let me see.
There you go, Prouty author. Author Royce Prouty? Is that him? Olive Higgins?
No.
No.
I got the name.
Go down. What was that at the bottom? Just type in Prouty and JFK. There you go. Yeah, so
Final Judgment is a good one, that's about the Jewish aspect of it.
Oh,
L. Fletcher Prouty?
The Secret Team.
Yeah, Fletcher Prouty.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
There you go.
Richard Belzer has Hit List. And that'll tell you all the people that have died.
Oh. Damn.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's pretty cool. The Secret Team. What's that? CIA and its allies control of the United States and the world. Wow. That looks like a good book. Proudy. Check that out.
See, this stuff, it exists. There's I said, there's more written on JFK. I think there's hundreds, thousands of books. I don't know.
Have they made any movies? I was just thinking that. Did they have a movie? They had a movie, right?
Yes.
They've had to.
Oh, yeah.
Who? JFK movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's been some.
Definitely. Well, we're gonna.
But I don't know. I just wonder, like you say, that history is teaching in schools.
Yeah,
that's this inaccurate. How many other things?
Yeah.
How much of our other history is just nonsense?
Well, you made a good point earlier too about generations go by and things are forgotten. Think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, how many of us are so busy in our lives we can't sit down and teach our kids about JFK?
When we're growing up, we have our life to live and whatever. That's why these guys, I guess, know that when they go to do a cover-up. They know that people can't go out check this stuff, so they come up with an official version. And
Right.
who the heck has the time to? Sure,
Right.
some guys will find it.
Well, they don't
some
even.
guys will know.
Right. Well, I mean, who has the time to teach their kids the truth about JFK and even find it relevant at this time in history? And
that's
then
right.
by the time we're gone, there's a whole new generations that have been taught the same things, and it just
Yes.
floats off into the ether. That's why
Yeah.
I love JFK's speech about. Basically, I think he was talking about the CIA in his speech about secrecy, secret oaths,
Mm-hmm.
secret meetings, secret proceedings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go ahead and go to a break here, Bob. I want to thank you so
Okay.
much for coming on, man.
Yeah,
I
it's been
appreciate
fun.
it. We've
Anytime.
learned a lot. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice visiting with you guys.
Absolutely, man. Hey, keep researching. If you find something big, let us know.
I will do.
All right.
And talk to you guys later.
All right. Take care, brother. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
So that was Bob Knudsen with the CIA and JFK thing. Oh, interesting stuff, man. Interesting stuff. Hey, we're going to take a quick break, but what we're going to do is we're going to play some music that was actually sent into us by a GLPer, man. You're going to love this song. He sounds like Ozzy Osbourne. We're going to play this song, and then guess what? Then I'm going to take your calls. The number's on the screen, 818-659-0055. Call in. We want to talk.
We have a lot of good topics. We want to talk
Yeah.
about what you guys want to talk about, but
I want to talk about the moon.
there's the moon.
Yes.
There's David Politti's research.
Oh, David Politti's,
There's all
yeah.
kinds of stuff going on. The NPCs.
So call us.
Please
All right.
call us.
All right, we're going to play this song real quick. From a GLPer, man. Check this out. This is awesome. Man, what a cool song. Wow. So, who's calling in? 818. Let me turn that down just a little bit. 818-659-0055. We want to talk to you about the rabbit hole you're going down. What rabbit hole have you been going down lately, Eddie? Deep Eddy?
A lot of things, but you know what? That song was bitchin'. What?
Yeah, it's
was
called
the-
Places, by a
Places?
guy named Michael.
Michael.
He didn't leave any other information. Try to get a hold of him again, but it's pretty cool. He sounded like Ozzy, didn't he?
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah, right on. So you've been researching David Paulides,
Yeah, I've been
missing 411.
I've been on a real kick with that this week. I actually ordered one of his books.
Yeah.
Still waiting for it to come in. He has a documentary on Amazon. It's called Missing 411, and he has a couple cases. I really hope we can get him on the podcast sometime.
Yeah, we're trying, guys. We're trying.
He has some other, you can listen to some other podcasts. You just search his name, and yeah, he's on quite a few, and the cases he talks about are really disturbing, very crazy.
Yeah, there's that recent one where these two people just went missing in Idaho. The one dude was part of a film production crew. Like they were filming a documentary series out in the forest there in Idaho.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And he just fucking starts running, taking off. And
Yeah, their friends thought he fell down the cliff, and they're like, "Oh, he's done." And they look down the cliff, and he's still running. Like,
so he actually got down a cliff.
yeah,
somehow.
he ran down a cliff, and they thought he had fell, or they didn't really know. And then when they looked down and tried to call for him, he's still running.
Wow.
Like, how scared would you have to be to run off a cliff, ignore your friends, and just keep going?
That is bizarre. What do you think is going on there?
Oh, man, I don't know. And, with David Paulides, he's been on a lot of paranormal podcasts and things. And a lot of people try to ask him, and he doesn't want to lose his credibility and start making claims that aren't fact-based.
Right.
Because he's very factual, but he has made some pointed suggestions. I honestly think he, in the back of his mind, think it's aliens. Abductions.
Aliens.
Because he has made some kind of sideways remarks and some different research. And
well, you know what's fascinating about the whole thing is that they usually find the bodies later, but they're like, the clothes are ripped or whatever. It's not like they're being abducted for money
so
for...
They always find the bodies where the area has been searched multiple times. So it's like the bodies are being placed.
Oh my God. Turn that off.
No. So yeah, it's almost like the bodies are being placed so people can find them again.
Yeah.
And yeah, most of the time the clothes are taken off, or they're nearby, or they're put on wrong. Or I think one instance somebody had a different pair of clothes on, like different pants. Usually if they're like an adult or someone with ID, their ID can always be found with them.
Wow.
Even when it shouldn't be, like if they're found in water or something like that.
Could be the freaking occult, man.
Could be. Well, one thing he was looking at with one of his books where he looks at city disappearances.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. Like, one guy goes missing, and he goes into a bar, and there's cameras all on the outside of this bar, and he is never seen leaving the bar, and he disappears. So they have no evidence of him ever leaving the bar.
Was that the guy that made the phone call on the way home?
No, there's some other guys that made phone calls.
Dude, we need to play that.
On the way home. Oh, man, I was trying to figure out where to find that link again.
That's scary. He makes the phone call, and he's like, there's something in the background. He's being...
Yeah,
he's being
like,
straight up abducted by demons or whatever.
And a lot of these calls, they hear like heavy breathing or it's windy. And David Paulides was telling, he's like, somebody was telling me it almost sounds like they're moving up. Like they're being transported up when they make these phone calls, like the air, because it sounds windy. It's like, why would it sound windy?
Oh my God.
And it's always nearby water.
Dimensions, man. Well, there's that Reddit subreddit. Let's see. Why do they steal all the testosterone from male government desk jockeys? I don't know. Why don't you call in and tell us? I'll tell you what. First person that calls in from GLP will get a free premium GLP membership for 1 month. Talk to us. We're nice guys, right? Are you nice? Fuck no, he's not nice. He's an asshole.
We'll follow you on Twitter too. We're a pretty big deal. We have like 24 followers now. So.
Big deal. Sort of a big deal. So yeah, the David Paulides thing, that's creepy. I don't like to listen to it too much because we're in Colorado right now, and there's like, dude, you could walk out there in a forest and
yeah,
you'd be gonzo.
And he has a little cluster around here of missing people that
Yeah,
just unexplained.
Oh,
If you guys want to get into it, you know, his books are on his website, canammissing.com, but I think the best place is to start with like his podcasts.
yeah.
And
He's got a podcast?
no, you can find him on other
other
does,
podcasts.
Yeah, he
yeah.
does a lot of interviews, you know.
Yeah, we need to get him on.
Yeah.
We got some other people coming on though.
We do. I've talked to a couple other people I'm pretty excited about.
Oh, you guys are going to love this. So the next guy we got coming on, holy crap.
Is that the YouTube person?
Yeah.
The open scroll?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy goes deep, man. Holy crap. Mandela effect, occult.
Symbolism.
Yeah.
Decoding the symbolism.
Yeah, decoding movies and stuff. That guy's actually, you know, he's on that good stuff. He's really... Who's the guy you found?
I don't want to make any shout-outs yet because I haven't really corresponded with them a whole lot, but one of them is a documentary maker.
Yeah.
With primarily cryptozoology, so like Bigfoot, things like that. And then the other guy is deals with stories of paranormal activity in the Appalachians. So I think he's just from what I think he's looking at just collecting stories of other people's accounts and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, Duck and Cover says portals through space. Let me ask you guys something in the live chat. What do you think about the moon?
Yeah, you've been wanting to...
Let's talk about the moon, man.
What are we talking about?
I was
dark
looking...
side?
Well...
The bases?
I was Yeah, why don't you go to GLP and see what they're talking about right now, first of all. But... GLP.com.
Oh.
Botanical skincare. Pull that up. Show them that.
Shout out.
Look, guys, GLP.com. Botanical skincare luxuriances. The good life people. Wow.
Oh,
what the hell?
The good life
We're
people.
gonna get
That's
sued.
what GLP means. The good life people.
Oh, look what Duck and Cover said. Lots of paranormal activities in the Appalachia. Dude, isn't that the guy you found? Potential guest coming on is talking about something going on in the Appalachia, right?
Yeah, I think he collects just paranormal stories and things like that.
Okay.
He's just getting off his feet, but
Yeah.
yeah, very interesting. You know, one of my favorite things is to hear people's stories. Just regular people, their accounts, what's happened to them. And people
I think so
have
too.
some stories.
Yeah, well, that's why I like you guys to call in. I've got some good stories from call-ins. Oh, yeah, did you see that Duck and Cover? He's on fire tonight. I love this guy, Duck and Cover. Man, Duck and Cover, why don't you call in, man? You've been listening to a lot of our shows. He just mentioned China's making a freaking moon, dude. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I actually shared that on our Twitter the other day or today. Where they're making a moon to illuminate the city to cut down on freaking...
Pull that up. I want to see that. That is nuts. Leave it to the Chinese, man. They're like straight up getting crazy over there. We're over here in America. We're like, we're going to go to Mars. They're like, we're going to make a moon.
Yeah, what the hell? That is unreal.
How are they even going to do that,
80
though?
kilometers wide?
How are they even going to do that?
That has to be like I don't know. Like
80 kilometers wide. What is that, like 60 miles?
A giant space blanket? I mean, what else? How else can you launch something like that?
I don't know. Launch a huge fake moon in the sky.
You know, I think NASA's wanting to put someone on the moon again, whether you believe they did in the first place or not.
Right.
Sounds like they want to put someone on the moon
Well,
again.
some people, they
2020.
get raped by reptilians on the moon. So, there's bases on the moon. There's all kinds of crazy stories about the moon.
Who's getting raped on the moon? Let's take a step back.
No, there's supposedly some lady that says that, but
Oh, I kind of heard about that.
yeah, that's wild. Yeah, but the moon, weird. It doesn't show its backside. The dark side of the moon.
It never does.
Let's see, this is going to illuminate a modest area of roughly 6 to 50 miles wide. What in the heck are they smoking over there in China?
How will it stay?
Let's see.
In
Oh,
the
there's
sky?
yeah. Pull that up. I want to see that.
I believe it'll stay in the sky. It's probably through orbit.
Let me see that. It's a
This
a mirror. Oh, they were trying to do this a while back ago.
It has to be like a space blanket or something very light. I wish this ad would leave us alone. Well,
Look at those cookies. Yeah, so it's a satellite unfurls a large round reflective surface. Okay, so it'd be like, I guess, like those car reflectors you put in the windshield to, unfurl.
and then they can probably
They're
concentrate the
tripping out.
light to attack us.
Well,
A beam of death.
It'll reflect the sunlight onto Earth's surface during the nighttime.
That's crazy.
They thought about doing this before, but with satellites, they'd have a small mirror like this size, just a smaller mirror,
Like 2 feet, 3 feet
right?
long.
And it would reflect the sunlight and make like
Right.
a big area, like 100 feet or something.
Right, because with that distance.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. Well, they're saying 8 kilometers long, so that's like
Yeah.
16 miles plus.
Well, what's nice about
That's
that
crazy.
is it would
right?
come. Yeah, it's crazy.
Or no, it's half that. Sorry, I'm sorry. I got my math all messed up. It's a couple miles long.
What, 16? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the great thing they say, the benefit of that, and it would be cool to see it daylight during the nighttime.
Yeah.
It would help certain things like rescue situations, like, you're trying to rescue somebody at night.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, bust out the China moon,
Yeah.
Or if there's something going on, it's happening at night and you need some light, call China, get the moon out.
Yeah.
Amplify the sun's gamma rays. That's right.
I'm sure they'll be able to target that sucker other places too.
What do you think, though, about the moon and how it's the same size as the sun in the sky, and we never see its backside? You think those odds are kind of a little too high?
I mean,
in a solar system that was created in chaotic circumstances, that just sort of happened like that.
I do think it's strange that that it never sees its backside.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's weird. This is in like a tidal lock. That's why the tides go in and out, because of the moon, supposedly. Looking for Truth says made in China. Yeah, but the moon is definitely weird. Maybe that's where all David Paulides people are going. What do you think?
maybe.
So you think it's aliens?
Yeah. Well, another interesting thing is what he started researching for was checking for GHB in their systems.
GHB, what's that?
It's like a
growth hormone?
kind of. No, I think it's kind of like a date rape drug.
Oh, yeah.
Where it basically paralyzes you. You're totally conscious and you know
Right.
what's going on, but you can't move.
Who used that stuff? Bill Cosby, Jello.
Oh,
man. He put
yeah.
it in Jello and then shoved it in their mouth.
Yeah. But they would find a huge concentration on these people that are found that fit his profile points. And the thing is when the coroners test for drugs, it'd be like, oh, he was high on this or that. They don't test for that. That has to be a special test.
Wow.
So they would never know that. They'd just be
Yeah.
like, well, cause of death is unknown. So basically, somebody is doping these people up with GHB where they're paralyzed, dropping them in the river, and of course they drown. So cause
Wow.
of death is drowning.
Yeah.
Or there's some that they threw in quarries where they'd fall from 70 feet, and they'd say, "Oh, he was drinking,
Right.
he fell." It's really
It's
creepy.
bizarre stuff, and a lot of it You've read some of the books, right? You read one of them, or did you order
No,
one?
I ordered one.
Okay.
I'm gonna be.
You watched the movie, though, right?
Yes.
How many people do you think have gone missing in our national parks? It's got to be...
Well, that's the thing is probably one of the most unsettling things about David Politti's research is, when he first started doing it, he went to the National Forest, National Park Service,
Yeah.
and asked them for a record of missing persons, like a list. And
They denied him, huh?
They denied him.
Yeah.
They basically told him they don't have one, yet their structure and their personnel are trained more than your average cop. Like they're basically special agents almost. And
Service ranger? Forest
Yeah.
Service Rangers?
yeah, some of the
Really?
park rangers are. I mean, they are big time. And
Yeah.
yes, they don't have any information. He
Yeah,
thinks
there's a
they're
lot of
hiding a
struggle with
list.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
big time.
definitely fighting him on it. He asked them, "Well, what if I were to pay you?" And they gave him a number like, "Okay, 1.6 million or something like that." So
Really?
they're definitely trying to hide it.
That is so messed up, dude. Because that's our government.
Mm-hmm.
That's we the people's government.
Yeah, and you can find a missing persons in any county. You
Yeah.
can go here probably right now
Right.
and get one. So why
It's
are
probably
they
on the freaking internet. But
why are
not,
they hiding theirs?
That's weird. Because that's an interesting aspect also, is if you think about it, if you go missing or you know somebody that goes missing, right, in your city, then it's public knowledge for the
Yeah.
city. But national parks, that's not a city. If you go missing in a national park, that's not a city, that's a
Right.
national park.
And the local
they
news
have
will
to-
pick it up for a little, but they don't put it on a list anywhere.
Yeah, it's got to be on their list because it wouldn't
Mhm.
be on a town because it's not a town, it's a national park.
Yeah, but they've
That's-
basically claimed that they don't have a list anymore, or that they never.
Well, that's
had
pretty
a list.
messed up. They get paid by our tax dollars
Right.
to operate. Their jobs are paid by us, and they can't even keep a list of the people that have gone missing in the freaking park.
Well, they're definitely, if they don't have a list, then it's definitely making everyone's jobs harder, because when somebody goes missing in a park, they want to be able to see this data and look on a map and say, okay, well, you've got a cluster of people go missing here. This is a spot where people are most likely to go missing. Let's
Yeah.
search here. So for them not to have a list is pretty stupid. They have to have a list.
Yeah. They got a list.
They just aren't.
Santa Claus has a freaking list.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's messed up. I don't know. I used to think that they were abducting something that's intelligent, crafty, able to conceal itself very well. Obviously intelligent. Obviously something's going on. Whether it's a human being that has, or a group of human beings that have advanced technology, or aliens, or what would be the other thing? Interdimensional creatures or entities. Interdimensional pedophiles.
Well,
They do this. I don't want to hope they do it for, well, they're obviously doing it for nefarious reasons, but probably to steal energy from you.
yeah.
Do you think?
Possibly. Well, another thing that he looks at is the type of people.
Yeah.
A lot of physicists have gone missing, and they're all German, which is weird.
What?
That fit his profile points. So it's a lot of very smart, educated people, doctors.
Oh.
If they're younger, college or high school age kids, they're usually all very successful athletes.
What? They go
High
missing?
grades, yeah. Or it's the other end of the spectrum where they have some sort of disability. They're deaf, autistic.
Yeah.
It seems like it's never really in between. I mean, of course, there's cases where it's just an average person, but
Yeah. I
It's-
wonder how many of them are Hillary supporters. That go missing. Duck and Cover says, "What do you think about the Bigfoot sighting seen on the Yellowstone
I don't-
Old Faithful webcam?" Look it up. Don't look it up on YouTube though, because just use Google image search. Bigfoot is another interesting topic. That big bastard is elusive.
Yeah, some of these prospective
Yeah,
guests.
go to images.
Hopefully, we'll have
Oh,
some
where's
more
images?
info.
What the heck? Go to more.
What's her? CIA
There you go.
took it off.
They already banned it. Oh, there he is.
Is that
Damn,
it?
son. Pull that up. No way.
No.
Oh, you're going somewhere wrong.
Oh, we're
No.
going deep. Where's it
Okay,
taking?
just go back to that. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So small on the screen.
Right. I need a good picture.
Is that Bigfoot? It looks like some dude. You sure?
Here, this might be a better side.
Yeah. Bigfoot allegedly caught on Yellowstone webcam. Oh, man.
You would think with
I
all the
don't
trail
know.
cams and stuff these days that we'd be able to.
Well, this is a trail cam. No, it's an Old Faithful webcam, but what? I don't know.
It's hard to say.
Oh, what's that down there? Buffalo?
Wildlife right there. I mean, that's tough because that could be somebody in a snowsuit too. You know,
Yeah, it could be just some dude in a ghillie suit, but
could be Bigfoot too.
maybe do they have a video of it? Or is it just a webcam? I guess it's just a webcam, huh?
Let's see.
Yeah, there you go. Let's look at that. That's on the Weather Channel, so whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's good. Let's play it. Oh, no, it's YouTube. What? Oh, is he going to come walking out? Dun, dun, dun. Here he comes. Oh,
there
man.
looks like there's a group of them. So there's one.
I don't know.
Before the trees hit, it looked like there's a group of them. That's crazy.
Whoa, what the
Why'd
hell
they
is that?
pan out?
They're totally spoofing.
They're hiding it.
Huh. That's crazy, man. Yes, Duck and Cover says there's another footage of a whole family of Bigfoots caught on camera.
Wow.
Huh. Bigfoot. Yeah. So that's another thing I think too is some of these kids that have gone missing. Do they ever get anybody back that's alive?
So I don't want to really spoil anything, but there was, I think there's very few. And there was one kid that came back and he was like 2 years old and they found him at a distance that no 2-year-old could have ever hiked. Like an adult couldn't even hike it in the time.
And they found him up on mountaintops and and up cliffs and stuff.
They found him, and actually in the documentary, Les Stroud tries to replicate this path that he took, and he could not do it. This Survivor Man.
Yeah, Survivor Man. That's Les, right?
Yeah.
He's in this movie?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So he tries to replicate it, and he can't do it. And this 2-year-old did it somehow. And they did find him, and he was alive. And he's alive to this day. But he doesn't remember things. He's 2 years old.
Wow.
So, he just remembers what his parents have told him.
Yeah.
And
That's crazy. That kind of thing, maybe it was on the Reddit subreddit No Sleep where they talked about, this national park guy.
Mhm.
So if you go to Reddit No Sleep and you go to top of all time, it's the top post of all time. And it's
Search and rescue.
supposed national park ranger dude that tells you stories that are crazy. Was it him that said the kids that came back went missing and came back were like, the big fuzzy man took me somewhere.
Well,
he took me into the tree. And
he had a lot of creepy stories, and the thing was, I think he wrote a couple other stories on No Sleep, so he kind of looked like he was an author, but
yeah, it could have been
how
bullshit,
are you going to make those? I mean, he had a lot of stories. He did a lot of parts to that. It was really good. But, some of those did have some inspiration or truth from other things.
Yeah, well, that's actually how I got to David Paulides was through that.
Right, yeah, I did too.
Because it's like, whoa, this is the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck? What in the hell is going on? What do you guys think is going on out there? Why don't you call in and tell us?
Yeah, people go missing out of thin air, and that's what they were showing. Like a lot of these kids, they're around adults. They are, you know, the adults look away for 3 to 5 minutes, and this kid is nowhere to be found.
Wow.
No tracks, nothing. I
Yeah.
mean, it's creepy.
Yeah. It is weird. Crazy stuff. How many have been? What's the most recent one? Is it that Idaho one? You should pull that up so they can see that.
Yeah.
This dude and this old lady. The old lady was part of a hunting group, and she'd been hiking out in the woods forever. She's like 75 years old, and yeah, she's totally missing now. But people legitimately go missing. I understand that, but some of these stories are just. Is that him there?
Yeah, there's David Pilates.
He's got a backpack on. Is he going backpacking? God, I hope not.
Yeah, he's a man's man.
Yeah, dedicated to the understanding, complexity, and issues of searching, rescuing, and investigating people of the wilds missing.
Yeah, I think
What
he has
the heck is that?
8 books out and books about Bigfoot too. He does research.
Wait,
on
whoa.
Bigfoot.
Go back. Bigfoot and giants. Giants. Archived articles from 1680 to 1922.
That would be a very interesting book there.
Wow. What is some of those? 8-foot wild man scares party of skaters. Look at that stuff. Like, that is. We were trying to do an episode on giants. Claim they saw a living what? Maybe they are giants, man. They could be.
Yeah.
You know, there's that story about the soldiers in Afghanistan that came across the giant.
That's crazy.
Man dies from extremely rare disease after eating squirrel brains. Really? Okay, there's the 2 people there that just have gone missing. This was last
and
week.
It was within how long?
That guy there on the left, he was part of the film crew
Yeah,
doing the documentary.
young guy.
And this story is like just weird how he takes off down the cliff. Yeah. She's gone too. They gave up the search for her the other day.
Didn't they? They didn't even find any
No.
tracks.
They didn't
leaving.
find anything. They're gone. They just dude's out in the woods with his production crew. He had called his parents though. There he is there. He had actually called his parents, I think it says. And he said he's coming back early.
Really?
Yeah, and his parents are like, he never comes back early.
He would be cutting the trip short,
Yes,
and
he'd
he
be
would
coming home.
coming home.
Yes.
Why would he be cutting the trip short?
Right. She's like, oh, he's never, see?
Yeah, he never once cut any of his
And
trips
so
short.
they were like, well, that's weird. And then what is next day or the day after that? Yes, either like scared somebody was bullying him or something. But he had worked with
Yeah.
this crew for a while.
He was
so.
fearful. Why would you run like that? So Terrence's father said they, which is the production crew, thought he fell off a cliff, but by the time they got over there, my son was 15 feet down the cliff running like a hare. So I said, what do you mean running like a hare? He said he ran so fast, I ain't never seen nobody run that fast. So this guy's booking it down the cliff. They thought he fell off of it, but he in fact was just running off of it.
And look what it says right there. You can't get lost out there because if you get lost, you're going to run into a road or houses.
So I would love to know why he was running in the first place. What did he just go and take off? Was there a reason? This just
What
says
the hell is going on outside?
probably the apocalypse.
Is it? There's a lot of noise out there. Holy cow. Anyways,
He's not just the type of person that would just run off or do anything like this.
yeah, that's weird. Duck and Cover says, take a look at the Bigfoot family of 6 captured on CCTV in Yellowstone. Why don't you look that up in Google image search? Family of 6. Let's check it out. Haven't done a lot of Bigfoot. Look at images.
No,
So-
I've been doing a little bit lately.
Is that them there? Yeah.
That's Bigfoot and Buffalo. This is kind of the same.
That was the same video
But
there.
that video that we watched,
Look
you
at that
could
one
see
down
him
there.
before
Looks
the
like he's with the
tree.
buffalo.
Yeah.
He's like, "What's up, dudes? What's up, bro?" Oh, there they are over there. Or no, is that buffalo or is it those Bigfoots? Oh.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell. They could be Bigfoot. I don't know. Who knows? Then there's that guy that said he had a skull of Bigfoot. Have you seen that? The head of Bigfoot? Look that up. Guy has head of Bigfoot. He was given to him by his grandpa and he pulled it out. Yeah, look at the images. Yeah, there you go. See?
This one here.
No, don't go to the YouTube.
Oh,
Just go
yeah.
back.
Sorry, guys. If we do YouTube, we'll
Yeah, if
likely
we
get
do YouTube, we'll get.
kicked off our
Go to
stream.
images at the top. There you go. Yeah, that thing.
This
there.
is it?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's a video. Yeah, see that?
Wow.
That's crazy, huh?
I'm going to have to watch that later.
Look at that freaking head, dude.
Oh,
I
what
think
is
that
this?
was.
Dang it. This is a mistake.
Yeah, just use this. Look at that.
What the?
It's a frozen head of a Bigfoot. It's a giant, dude. It's a giant.
That's not.
It's
yeah.
not Bigfoot.
It's
These are
just a
giants that
giant.
live in the woods, dude.
Oh,
These aren't big. Look at that. That's a trip.
thing's smiling.
Go down some. Let's see what's down. Yeah, see, what the heck is that?
Jeez, he is like up close. What? There's an
Look
up
at that
close
thing.
one.
That is so weird, man.
Wow.
Well, a lot of these giants that were found, the skeletons of giants, you know, like the Bible says, the giants had 6 fingers and 6 toes on each appendage. That's what the Bible says about the giants. And these giant statues that have been found have 6 fingers, 6 toes. You should look up and see if there is one of a giant. They've probably all been scrubbed from the internet, but
What is it now? A skeleton?
yeah, skeleton of a giant. They were in the old, the 80s. Not the 80s. The late 1800s. Who's that? Uh-oh.
Hello.
Hey.
Man, my headset dropped me again. Give me just a moment.
Oh. Hey, everybody. We got a caller.
Or a callee?
A callie. No, go to images. There you go.
There was some weird. Oh.
Some of them are probably fake as shit, but
Okay, I'm back in there, Rich.
what's up, man? We were
Not a whole lot. I'm doing well. How about you?
good, good. We were just talking about giants and actually pulled up this guy. He had a video of a frozen Bigfoot head. It honestly looks like just a giant person's head to me. That's my opinion. But
Yeah, like a.
the Nephilim. Sorry. What are you up to tonight, man? Are you looking at that moon? What do you think about that moon? We were talking about the moon earlier.
You know what? I look up at the moon every single night and wonder what the hell. I mean, that's really just honestly it.
I do too. I wonder what the hell myself. And some people have gone into research and even found bases on the moon. You should pull that up. Some of Richard C. Hoagland's stuff. They find these towers on the moon. You've seen that, right?
Oh, absolutely. And, there's some very compelling stuff. If nothing else, even though it's a little bit unclear, you'd certainly have to say that, geez, this stuff needs to be investigated. And, quite frankly, we have the LRO, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, and the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter as well. Both of those in orbit around the respective bodies. And their resolution is the size of a soda bottle, but they're really not giving us those pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So Richard C. Hoagland, he even found stuff on Mars, right?
That's actually where he started. Richard Hoagland was Walter Cronkite's science advisor before he began, before he went off the reservation, shall we say, because the Viking lander took photos as it was coming in, and there certainly was a face on Mars looking back at it.
Yeah, right. And there's a
And,
face on
and
the moon too.
you know what? I had not seen that, but I'm a little behind on my research these days.
Well, I've always heard of it. Can't you see the man in the moon? The man in the moon. I've never been able to see it till one night, like a couple months ago. I seen it. It looks like a jack-o'-lantern face. It was weird. I don't see it anymore though.
Yeah, there's actually, as it turns out, about I was in drafting for a while, and about 1 in 3 people can look at a 2D image and see the 3D image right there just by looking at it.
Yeah.
Another 1 in 3 people can look at it and they can be kind of trained to see it,
Right.
But there's 1 in 3 people. 1 in 3 are also never going to make that transition to seeing 3-dimensional geometry from a 2-dimensional shaded object, or in other words, a shape from shading abstraction in your head.
Yeah. Right. What do you think the moon is?
I think the moon is a planetary body. And I'm not going to say it's hollow, and I'm not going to say it's artificial. That I don't have, I think, compelling evidence for. But one thing I can say is that it's quite coincidental. The diameter of the moon is 2,160 miles in diameter, which is, if you drop to zero, that's half of 432.
Yeah.
And the sun is 864,000 miles in diameter, which is exactly twice 432.
Right.
And the moon is situated in such a way that exactly occludes the disk of the sun, and they've also done the seismic experiments on the moon where they make the moon ring.
Yeah.
But people say it could be hollow like a bell, but I like the alternative explanation, which is there is a vast number of glassine structures, huge glassine structures on the moon, that are actually constructed in a terrible repair, and when the moon is hit, those glassine structures continue to ring just like a railroad trestle. After the train has gone by for half an hour, you can still hear it if you put your ear to the trestle.
What is a glassine? What are you talking about?
Well, originally I was pretty skeptical because I looked at Richard Hoagland's work on the great glass structures. If you make
so
glass,
you're talking about like crystalline or glass?
Yeah, massive domes, massive structures. Because if you cast glass in zero gravity completely in the absence of liquid, what you end up with is a glass that can easily be made stronger than steel.
Wow.
And it's also something called opalescent glass, because you can actually see various polarized light reflections coming from the stuff. And when I first saw these things that were brought out of high-resolution image enhancement coming off the Apollo photos, I thought, okay, I could almost take it or leave it. I can see the structures that they're talking about in the pictures when I look at the structure on the ground, right?
Yeah.
The structures from the side that were in the air showed a definite lattice work that you can see on them. If you go to the enterprisemission.com, Hoagland's website, you can see that structural stuff. And they said, well, that's artifacts of photography and everything. Well, the Jade Rabbit rover just went and took some really nice high definition CCD images of the moon. Those are up on Panorama right now, and the People's Liberation Army just released the photos, and it shows exactly the same structures.
Wow.
Even though it's a completely different medium, it's digital versus analog technology. It's not film; it's a CCD. And if you're running a CCD, I mean, the light range on a CCD is like 10,000 lumens, way better than film. You can pull things out of a CCD image that you can't get out of other types of imaging.
Right, yeah. Yeah, the other theory is that the moon was put into place, right? It was towed into place, that it's just too perfect that the moon and the sun are the same size in the sky. Actually, and that the one doesn't spin, it's tidal locked like we talked about, but that all seems a little too perfect in a solar system that was created, in a chaotic fashion, right?
Well, I'd absolutely agree with that, and I could see exactly how the moon could be put into place. And this goes back into some of our hyperdimensional or torsion field physics. So we have Kardashev back in the 60s described Type 1, Type 2, Type 3, and Type 4 civilization. A Type 1 is able to utilize the energy output of an entire planet, and we're like a 0.7. We're getting kind of in that range,
Think so? Yeah, we're getting there.
And a Type, let's just say we're not an order of magnitude away from that.
Right.
A Type 2 is able to utilize the output of an entire star system, one solar system. A Type 3 civilization can utilize the energy output and control of an entire galaxy. And when you get to Type 4, you're talking like Q off Star Trek. I mean, you're a god. But now imagine this, okay? It's not just the moon, it's not just Mars, but also the asteroid Vesta, which we visited. We took some images of some really bizarre geometry on Vesta. They sent a probe to Ceres, and we got bizarre images of structures on Ceres, and they really, if they're not explained by artificial structures, somebody really needs to revamp some of our theories of everything.
Really? What is this series? What did he say?
Yeah. There was a mission to Ceres, the asteroid Ceres, and there was a mission to Vesta, and there was a mission to Pluto. We imaged Pluto. I don't know how many people know that, but all of these images are available on the Enterprise mission website. There's some heavy-duty image processing professionals who are working on these things.
Yeah. And that's Hoagland's website, right? Enterprise mission?
Yeah, and keep in mind, these things have already been, let's just say there's a tank buried in the desert, right? And, and the Department of Defense flies their satellite over, and they take a picture of 2 million square miles of desert, right?
Right.
Okay, nobody has time to go through every pixel on that entire panorama and pull out small, tiny artificial bits.
Right.
Or let's say it's the Siberian arboreal forest, where they have satellite photos of the entire arboreal forest, and they want to pick out the 3 Russian missile launchers that are being driven around on trucks out there, someplace within millions of square miles. They have what's called a fractal linear geometry program that pulls non-fractal geometry out of those pictures. So in other words, so a tree is fractal geometry, a cloud is fractal geometry, a river delta is fractal geometry, but a building or a missile launcher or a tank are non-fractal geometry. The computer can process that in seconds and pull out those frames that the analyst needs to look at.
That is crazy, man.
Yeah, now if you apply that same program to these structures on the moon and Mars, or let's call them structures, I mean, so far NASA's saying interesting rock, you might want to pull up the picture of the robot head on the moon. That one is really good. Oh,
yeah, I remember that one. That was crazy.
Yeah, then they made the famous Star Trek episode about that with Gene Roddenberry did Data's head on the moon. That was in relation to that I believe it was an Apollo 17 photograph. And when you do the image enhancement on that robot head, you come back with an iris in the eye. Now, what is the logic? What are the odds?
Pretty low.
Now, if we apply that same fractal linear geometry program to the structures we're seeing on the Mars and on the Moon, that would be considered high enough on the scale of intelligence data to direct a fire mission or a specific reconnaissance mission to that area.
Wow, that's a trip there. That definitely looks like a head.
Yeah, and we haven't even gotten to Saturn yet. Saturn's the most incredible thing of all.
They got that comparison picture next to C-3POs.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's some science that, I'm not sure if you're aware of the Brookings report published by NASA.
No.
Okay, well, NASA published the Brookings report. It's not named the Brookings report, but it was done by the Brookings Institute. So the name escapes me at the moment. But if you look up Brookings report NASA, you'll find it. Yeah. And NASA said in 20 years we're going to find civilizations off our planet. They're expecting to find them in 20 years.
Wow.
And they wanted to know what the effect on humanity would be. And the Brookings report said, society will crumble and we'll all split back into the Stone Age.
Ooh.
So they've been using that as a secrecy cover justification to keep all this stuff secret for all this time.
We've heard that a lot too, like that society would fall apart if they found out aliens are real. But what was it last December that footage was released from the Pentagon of the UFOs and nobody seemed to even give a crap,
Yeah, and I thought that was disingenuous. Anytime the CIA comes out and releases, the Defense Intelligence Agency releases the stuff on and their primary spokesman is the CIA agent and a rock star.
That was our show. That was our show. Yeah, Tom DeLonge. He's running down the street in his underwear, right? on MTV
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. Now he's bringing the world the truth. I don't think so.
Yeah, well,
that's weird.
they're bringing us the version of the truth the CIA wants us to hear.
Oh yeah.
But here's the thing: after the Brookings report was done, very quickly you see Gene Roddenberry coming out with stuff that's right off of these photos that we were taking. You see Robert Heinlein coming out with books that are relating to this stuff. And the big one, Arthur C. Clarke.
Arthur
And-
Clarke. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that these guys were tapped with bringing us into the idea that an alien civilization is not so unusual that it could destroy society. They're trying to make it a household thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the interesting thing about Arthur C. Clarke, of course, did 2001: A Space
Oh
Odyssey.
man, what a weird
Amazing
film.
stuff. Yeah, with our pal Stanley Kubrick.
Yep.
And so 2001: A Space Odyssey. Okay, in the book, not the movie. In the movie, there's this big square monolith on the moon, right?
Yep.
In the book, it's a pyramid.
Is it really?
Yep.
I
In
didn't
the book,
know
it's
that.
a tetrahedron. And in the
Wow.
book, they don't go to Jupiter. In the book, they go to Saturn, to the moon Iapetus. If you can pull up a picture of the moon Iapetus, there is a completely circumequatorial structure on Iapetus that's 60,000 feet high that wraps around the entire moon, bisecting it like an orange.
Eddie doesn't know how to spell Iapetus.
Iapetus. Iapetus.
There you go. It's
There
right
it
there.
is.
That is crazy. I didn't know it was a pyramid in the book. I got to read that book
Yeah.
because that movie
Yeah,
is
the
a
book-
trip.
Oh, and the book is the
Wow.
movie.
Look at
The
that.
movie is 2001 Light. The book is the real deal.
Yeah.
And now if you go to the Saturn page on enterprisemission.com, if you got time to do that, zero in on the ring. One of the entire rings of Saturn would appear to be a structure all by itself.
Really?
And that is why Arthur C. Clarke sent his heroes to Saturn, not to Jupiter, because Saturn's where the cool stuff is.
Yeah. Yeah, and didn't they just recently find, like, on the poles of Saturn was, like, a hexagon shape? Some kind of aurora that was in a hexagonal shape. That was weird.
Oh, yeah, it's on the North Pole of Saturn, and that's because Saturn, in relation to the solar system ecliptic, in other words, the disk, the level of the disk, where we're
Yeah.
all in here, the Earth's North Pole is technically local top on that disk, as is, the North Pole of Mars, the North Pole of Jupiter, and the North Pole of Saturn. Neptune is spun around, so their North Pole is facing down
Oh.
magnetically. There is a hexagon on the bottom North Pole of Neptune.
Yeah.
That is the inlet of the torsion field dynamic of a tetrahedron nested within a sphere. The output is where those, at the 19.5 latitude, where those points of the tetrahedron would then connect with the sphere at 19.5 above and below the equatorial region.
Right.
And this is the classified physics from the 19th century that they've been trying to cover up with this with relativity and quantum mechanics. I mean, as you know, relativity and quantum mechanics are infinitely complex. They're hugely complex mathematically, and they are unengineerable so far, right?
Yeah,
People were
definitely.
engineering gravity control back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, using previous torsion dynamic theory.
Yeah, and they're still using it today. I mean, they're flying around for sure. Keep us in the dark.
It's definitely classified. I mean, it's kind of like, in the 1400s, Leonardo da Vinci was building aircraft and helicopters for the Duke of Medici. In the meantime, the turnip farmers outside were still just digging their turnips just like their dad and their grandpa, and and everything else. We're the modern day equivalent of turnip farmers here.
Right. What's this? Propellers in the rings of Saturn? What is it?
Yeah, it's like the Cassini satellite picked up these images,
Wow, that's weird looking.
and they almost look like propellers in the rings.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is NASA used to hide all these images, right? I mean, they had people at NASA
Oh,
who
yeah.
specifically
Photoshopping.
airbrush. Yeah, they'd
Yeah.
airbrush the negatives to remove the pictures, right?
Right.
Now they're releasing more and more and more of the data at high resolution. They're trickling it out to us. They're getting more and more of it out to us. Like,
you think
if you go to, go ahead.
Do you think that's to get us kind of ready for the
Prepped?
big reveal?
Yeah, here's the thing. The government will be just as secret as we require. In other words, when we show interest and when we start to wake up ourselves, they will respond with the data. They will not respond with more data than our level of curiosity will withstand.
Huh.
My level of curiosity is virtually infinite, so I get pissed waiting for it. But I got people right next to me who absolutely refuse to believe that anything that doesn't hit CNN is not real.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
There's a whole other world out there, and I think our solar system was quite clearly a Type 2 civilization that probably destroy itself in a civil war. I mean, nuclear war is not the only kind of thing. If you're dealing with torsion field physics, in other words, if you're harnessing the full energies of the torsion field, utilizing these power points at that 19.5 latitude, like when we discussed, if you move the North Pole back to where it was 12,000 years ago, the Great Pyramid of Giza is right on 19.5.
Right. Look
all
up
the South American.
Moon. Somebody had found a picture of a tank on the moon.
Oh, wow.
Like, that's another thing, too, is these planets like Mars, they say it's almost like a nuclear war was going on over there or something. Is that it? Is that it?
Well, John Brandenburg wrote the book because I'm trying to remember the isotope. It seems like it was, I don't want to say thorium. I could be wrong. There's an isotope in the Martian atmosphere, and the only other place it's present is in the Earth atmosphere where we've done nuclear testing. It's a hallmark of nuclear testing.
Right.
And Mars has it, and we have it.
Wow.
But a lot of people say we never went to the moon.
Yeah, isn't there a type of metal that's hard to get for medical instruments? It's a type of metal that was made before we made nuclear bombs, or it was a type of metal that was made before we detonated the first nuclear bomb. Because after you've detonated nuclear bombs, then something like that, there's something changes on the planet, right?
Yeah, there's an isotope in the atmosphere, and I can't remember the name of the isotope. It escapes me right now. But it's present in both of it's the metallic isotope present in both the atmospheres of the Earth and Mars, but nowhere else.
Yeah, that's crazy that it's on Mars, and Mars is kind of like a nuclear wasteland is what it looks like.
Yeah, it does.
Maybe there was a war and somebody came here and brought us or whoever here, and it's so weird how we don't know our own history, We only know so much, and even that is bullshit.
Oh yeah, I think the works of A.T. Fomenko go a long way towards writing that ship.
Yeah.
In addition, then you get the works of Zachariah Sitchin and modern day translators too, who are translating the Sumerian tablets.
Right.
And we're finding out more and more. But here's the thing about the Sumerian tablets and all the clay tablets in the Middle East: is every time we have a war in any country in the Middle East, the first thing that happens, like literally, when we were racing to Baghdad, there was already special ops teams in there cleaning out the museum. They took all the tablets. They took 50,000 tablets and the art project, and then they gave back the works of art that are made out of gold. They kept the damn tablet.
Yeah. Right. Well, there's Smithsonian's. Smithsonian's been covering crap up. Did you hear about this recent project by China to put a moon in the sky? Did you hear about that?
I actually caught a little bit of that on the podcast, and I read about that in books earlier. Yeah, they've been anticipating putting reflectors in orbit to direct sunlight, like on the fields,
right.
or if we start growing giant marijuana fields, and you really want to kick the budding process, you want to refocus your orbital mirror onto your marijuana field, so you get your 12-12.
Get that crop going, huh? Well, it'd be handy, I think, for certain situations. I'm surprised they haven't done it already, honestly. I think I read about it when I was a teenager, a long time ago. And it's like, I've never seen it done. I don't know if they're doing it now, but it would be pretty simple. Just put a big mirror on a satellite. I'm sure they already got reflective pieces on satellites.
And now I've never really been one to burn ants with a magnifying glass. I just could never bring myself to do it. You know what I mean?
Well, you're
my
a
friends
good
were
guy.
doing it.
Very
and I
good
thought
guy.
that's terrible for the poor ants.
Yeah, you
right?
don't
Well,
have psychopathic tendencies, huh?
Yeah. Well, now who the hell? Now what? What if? Let's say you're computer controlling the focus of the mirror in orbit. The 48. This is a 48-mile mirror, if I heard right. 80 kilometers.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's what it said.
Yeah. Multiply your kilometers by 0.6. So 6 times 8, you get 48 miles.
Right.
And the okay. Well, what if some hacker got into there and
Yeah.
decided that he, like what if Madonna took it over, right? She has thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House. So
Right.
Madonna's hackers take over the Chinese moon and they refocus it on the White House so that it's just like Donald Trump's like an ant in the focus of this 50-mile mirror on the Rose Garden front lawn or something.
Yeah, what if you can
You know?
focus that? I mean,
Yeah, that would be a
That's-
weapon. That'd be an energy beam weapon like China's already
Yeah.
making. We've probably made them too.
Archimedes.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Before I get too far, I wanted to dispel the idea that we never went to the moon, and I think I can dispel it fairly quickly and logically. I mean, there's always the Kubrick involvement, so everything gets weird when you throw Stanley Kubrick in there.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: on the day, okay, it's like the way the government works with the official story, then there's the government release conspiracy theory. There might be a tertiary government conspiracy theory. And by then, everything else is taken off, and other people provide their own conspiracy theories. And I use that term meaning the conspiracy theory, not the conspiracy
Aspect.
analysis that I like to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the day when the Apollo astronauts were actually coming back from the moon, Frank Bristol from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, who handled public relations, was walking this guy in a big tan drover's coat around the press room while they were waiting for the astronauts to come back. And at every press table, NASA themselves put down a pamphlet that said the moon landing was fake.
What? Really?
NASA themselves put down the pamphlet. That's people who were there saying this happened.
Yeah.
Richard Hoagland was in the room at the time. He was with the press. And he said that's where the whole thing started.
Wow.
Is that exact thing. Now, the reason you would produce, okay, here's our official story. The astronauts went to the moon and picked up some rocks. Great deal, right?
Yeah.
Now, okay, so then you have your first level conspiracy theory, normally provided by the government. And the government then puts out the first level conspiracy theory. We never went to the moon. Okay, so now if the government puts out an official story, followed by the government putting out their own conspiracy theory, I automatically discount both of them. And I look for the third theory. The third theory is a synthesis that can be found by reading the other half of 2001: A Space Odyssey, or just watch the other half of the movie. What happened in the movie? We went to the moon, and we found the remains of an ancient civilization.
Yes.
That to me is the real theory, because NASA themselves provided we went to the moon and found rocks.
Very
we went
good
to the moon.
connection, man.
Yeah.
Why would
We never went. Yeah.
Why would NASA pass out brochures to the media saying that it was fake?
Because they're a bunch of assholes. You should
Because
look that up.
No, specifically because, well, NASA's a Department of Defense organization. I don't care how many people say it's civilian, but it's not.
No.
Its charter clearly says Department of Defense.
Somebody said
And-
NASA is worth $50 million a day. Their budget is like $50 million a day.
Oh, geez, yeah.
That ain't
It's got to be
civilian.
something like that.
That ain't civilian.
It's just like $20 billion a year. That's just above board that we know about. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
you got. Now, as far as why they would do that, let's go back to the Brookings report, which that's their. Okay, first off, in the Brookings report, number one, it said we're going to find a civilization in 20 years off planet, right?
Right.
Which, by the way, every ancient text on the fucking planet talks about that specific thing. There's a civilization on the other planets. It's in the Sumerian text. It's in everything, you know. So
Right.
NASA themselves, in the Brookings report, said that they expect to find a civilization. Now, the Brookings report then also said, okay, society's going to crumble, so there's our need for secrecy, which the CIA loves. And then, now, the reason they would put out the official story that's not quite real, the conspiracy theory, which is absolutely false, that is to cover that aspect so that they can gradually open us up to the idea of a civilization off planet. And therefore, because for whatever reason, I'm not saying they're opening up this civilization off planet for our benefit. I'm saying that for some reason NASA needs to tell us, but they're not allowed to tell us until we are officially ready to do so.
Right.
We determine the level of disclosure that we get
Yep.
by our inquiries, by our algorithms.
Well, then we need to all start pressuring and say we want to know, but do we really want to know?
But do you think it would be worse even now? I mean, look, you have people that believe that the earth is still flat, regardless of all the technology and images we have, which, if you believe it, you believe it. But could you imagine the controversy? I would think it'd be more than in previous years if they came out and divulged this information
So
to
there's
us.
ancient bases on the moon?
Yeah, I think there would still be controversy. I mean, you could have HD footage and photos, and people would still be like, no, it's a
but that would be a
distraction."
big step for NASA.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, hey, this is all Photoshop. But you know what? You can go get the original prints at JPL and NASA. If something is being altered to make it look like there's civilizations on other planets, it's coming right from JPL and NASA. Because
Right.
you can go on the NASA website, you can go on the JPL website, you can pull the actual images, and you can run the image enhancement on them yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or let's take
And that's-
we need to get Damian Peach on the show, man.
Damian Peach? Look him up.
Damian Peach, he is using a small 14-inch reflector telescope and a CCD video camera to get stunning images of the moon.
Oh, wow.
Doing video stacking of the clear frames as it's being taken through the shifting atmosphere.
Yeah, that's like Astromutt. He was doing something like that.
That
using-
would be very cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you lock your telescope on the moon, right, using your
Twitter.
computerized control gimbal, and then you start taking video. Then what if one frame out of every 100 is clear? And then your stacking program stacks those images, and then you get yourself a crystal clear image of the moon.
Wow. Yeah, he's got some pretty good images. Those must be him on his Twitter page there. Those images.
Yeah, and you can just,
Wow.
hey, this is doable. If you got a couple
Yeah.
grand to get a good telescope and
Oh my
a
gosh.
good,
Right. That is beautiful. Look at that. That's crazy
That's
looking.
impressive. It's so cool.
Saturn
that
looks so weird.
anybody can look at this yourself with the right equipment. I mean,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
yep, and the equipment's not that expensive anymore.
No.
No, it's getting cheaper. It's definitely getting cheaper, and even there's a lot of hobbyists online that are building their own little observatories in their backyards, like it would look like what you'd see in Hawaii on the mountaintops of Hawaii. Those
Yeah.
observatories, they build little ones in their backyards.
That's so cool.
It's crazy. It'd be nice to get that. But do you think they're hiding it, like you said before, like our need to know how we react, or do you think they're hiding it because it's super evil and they're involved? We hear a lot about these underground bases, DUMBs, deep underground military bases. Like there's one in Dulce, there's one in everywhere. Do you think some of those, where they say they're working with aliens and stuff, a lot of these secret places, like maybe on the moon, on the far side of the moon, they're not telling us because they don't want us to find out that they're working with something demonic, something evil, something nefarious?
Yeah, and you wouldn't even have to go too far to find demonism in something, because all you need to be demonic is psychopathy turned in the wrong direction. You know what I mean? That's 5% of the population is psychopathic.
Yeah. Most of the population's on antipsychotic drugs, so.
Yeah, half of them are, but you don't have to go too far to get into that demonic aspect if you're following the ancient rituals of, say, the Sumerian Babylonian Talmudists, and they do rituals to invoke Satan, which wouldn't be too tough, because it's not that much of a stretch, because the Buddhists talk about invoking tulpas all the time.
What's that? Invoking what?
Tulpa, T-U-L-P-A. It's a meditative practice designed to create an actual entity from your essence. But they actually say, be careful what you do, because it's very easy for a tulpa to turn dark.
Ooh,
Now,
that's
in
weird.
the Assyrian, now in the Judaic faith, they have the golem, which is a very similar thing. You invoke the golem,
Ooh.
which is bringing in an entity that you actually create through your thought process is a ritualized process that takes the corporeal form on this planet.
That is nuts. That's crazy. I
Yeah.
don't want to do that.
No,
That sounds like
yeah.
Ouija boards type stuff.
Yeah, no, have you guys seen the movie Fire in the Sky, or the other movie
Yes.
with Betty and Barney Hill with who was in the Betty and Barney Hill movie? He
I
played the
didn't
voice
see
of Darth
that movie,
Vader.
man, but I need to see it. He played the voice. Oh, the black guy.
Gosh, what's his name?
James Earl Jones.
Yeah, James Earl
Yeah.
Jones.
Oh, he was a great villain in Conan, also, man. And
Yeah,
you know what?
he turns into the lizard guy at the end. Oh my
Exactly.
gosh, that was a
That's
trip.
Going back into reptilian right there.
Yeah,
you know.
he turns into a giant snake. That was a badass scene.
Yeah. In the movies, let's say the movie with Betty and Barney Hill that starred James Earl Jones, I cannot remember the name of that movie. And
Trying
then
to find
Fire in
that.
the Sky.
I didn't know
Yeah,
they made a
Fire-
movie about Betty and Barney Hill.
Yeah, and then Fire in the Sky with Travis Walton.
Yeah,
they
that was
showed them
good.
they got abducted by the aliens, right? But you go back into the real story, they left out the whole part on the Betty and Barney Hill thing about the aliens being directed by guys who are wearing Nazi uniforms. And then in the Travis Walton case, Fire in the Sky, the movie completely neglects the other entire half of it, in which Travis Walton clearly stated he was abducted by these aliens, right? And they were being directed by humans, and he was taken to an underground military base.
Yes, there was
But, you know,
humans in the base where he was, and that was not in the movie.
Yeah, and when they start invoking, anytime they invoke aliens, hey, I feel, I absolutely respect anyone who's seen them or whatever, you know. I mean, if you're an armchair theorist, and well, you know, like I am, and
Yeah, like me.
you hear the word aliens, and you right away glom onto it because it's very cool, it's very sci-fi. I love aliens, you know. But
Yeah.
as soon as I see aliens involved with government programs and projects, I immediately take all the alien stuff out, and I immediately look at what they're talking about. Like, let's take the deep underground military bases and the theoretical high-speed rail network that connects all the deep underground military bases around the country. Take that map and overlay that onto David Paulides' missing 411 map. You're going to see an astonishing correspondence.
Wow.
Yeah, and the other thing too is you mentioned a good thing about the golems and the manifesting spirits type thing. That could really be what they're up to. I mean, some weird shit they're doing. There's some weird people.
Oh yeah. Or like in Eyes Wide Shut, the Satanists, the Rothschild Satanists, they say that they do rituals to invoke Satan, and he walks right through the wall and comes out and talks to them, and he may be in the form of your classic Satan Baphomet, or they say he may be in the form of an alien gray.
That is freaky. Well, that's what Aleister Crowley drew. Pull up Aleister Crowley's drawing of what was his name? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Thule.
Thule. Look that up. Aleister Crowley.
Or is it Tula? It was also mentioned in H.P. Lovecraft, a book I read by H.P. Lovecraft one time. Not Thule. That's not the right name, is it?
Yeah, drawing of entity, I guess. That looks like a gray. It's weird. Yeah, just go to images. Oh, it's lamb. It was lamb.
Ooh, that's creepy.
Okay.
That's
now the little
exactly
gray. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now, was this a something he experienced? Someone he saw? Something?
He said he was in contact with this entity.
Wow, it does look a lot like a gray.
Yeah. Now, really interesting. Also, Hitler. When Hitler was in the trenches in World War I, he was repeatedly decorated for bravery for running right into the freaking line of fire.
Yeah, he was a fighter in World War I.
Yeah. Now, he said that one time he walked out of a tent, the tent blew up right behind him, got hit by a shell, and that's the first time the entity spoke to him. And the entity stayed with him for the rest of his life, telling him how to avoid danger, telling him how to do things, telling him how to win. That's right out of Mein Kampf.
Holy cow. That's in his book, Hitler's book, huh?
Absolutely. And then there was another, there's Hitler's Table Talk. Hitler wrote another book also. I mean, I would say everyone should read Hitler's books themselves because, not because I'm a giant Nazi. All I'm saying is if you want to get a good perspective on
I've always thought that because Hitler's like so demonized, and obviously for good reason, but he wrote books, and it's like, I've never read his books. What's in them? Is it just a bunch of racist stuff like, oh, screw it,
For him to have that kind of control over millions of people,
Well,
what was his message?
Hitler was just a typical socialist. That's all he was. And he had the typical socialist, your four tenets of socialism / Satanism, which is euthanasia, moral relativism. Man, I'm not going to get it. Let's see, moral relativism.
Eugenics, right?
Eugenics. There's another one.
Yeah.
Darwinism, et cetera, et cetera.
Darwinism, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's all. This is so weird, man. You know, I was talking with Deep Eddy about this earlier. You know, the Bible, like people from the past mentioning demons and aliens. I mean, those could have been just words for what we call aliens, pretty much, right? I mean, people have contact with aliens. They say, oh, they were tall Nordic blondes and they were so nice and friendly. And then some people are like, I met a praying mantis alien and it was trying to take me out. You know, these Egyptian hieroglyphs where we see people with animal heads, you know, like Thoth. What kind of head does Thoth have? He's got some.
Is he the raven's head? I can't remember. Is it the bird head?
It's
the
a crane.
Head?
Yeah. Ibis head. Yeah.
Yeah, or like back in the medieval fairy stories, they talked about the little gray friends also, who were the little gray aliens who drove small mechanical spaceships.
Wow. This is
crazy. That's right there in the literature. I mean, this stuff it's not news. It's not news. You know?
Yeah.
But this manifestation always is and keep in mind the fairies abducted people and did experiments and bred with them and all kinds of things as well, just like the theoretical gray aliens also do, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's interesting too. We've also heard stories like a lot of our fairy tale stories come from older stories that are not so much mythological, but almost like handed down legends of what, like even like forest elves and things like that. There's a lot of witnesses that say they've stumbled into some kind of other dimension, kind of like the David Pilates things where these people disappear. And there's just different kind of entities and creatures and weird stuff, man. I don't know what to think.
It seems like sort of like, what do you call it, the skin. I mean, until we, like right now, until we understand torsion field physics, which we do in the classified realm. But torsion field physics allows for transference between multiple dimensions. I can't recall how many that the theory calls for.
Right.
But there's been papers quietly written on this for the last 200 years, and they're out there. They're multidimensional topological papers. Go back to Oliver Heaviside's paper on electromagnetogravitics from 1893, or James Clerk Maxwell's original 1773 or 1873 theory of electricity. That was all by itself a multidimensional theory of everything, essentially.
Right.
And then Einstein came in with relativity. Again, relativity, moral relativism, all wrapped up in Bolshevism. It's a cover-up.
Wow.
Same as quantum physics. They say, okay, we got the double slit experiment, and everything exists in an indeterminate state until we look at it, and then it becomes this. It's
the observer changes.
I'd love to see you prove that one.
Right.
Okay, it was something else until I looked at it. Now it's this. It's like, come on, tell me another one. This is all a cover up of torsion field physics, which is gradually grinding its way out into the public.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I've also often said that to people. Like, how are we going to determine the speed of light? You believe the speed of light is so fast. How the hell do you know? Me and you don't have access to the technology resources to even determine what the speed of light is.
Oh, I
we
can't
just have
quite
to
recall. It was Michelson, the same guy who did the famous Michelson-Morley experiment. He actually was measuring the speed of light using a refractometer. And I don't know how to build a refractometer, but they were doing this in analog fashion 200 years ago.
Okay. So it's doable if you know your stuff, I guess.
Yeah, and the speed of light, of course, is 432 squared.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, they are definitely covering technology up for sure. I mean, we see a lot of weird things. Actually, my brother, a brother that's down the road from us here. He called me the other night, and he'd seen something in the air. Did I tell you about that?
No.
Yeah.
No, I didn't hear about it.
Yeah, he seen something that looked like a glow in the dark color up in the sky, and it was in a diamond shape, and it was flipping around and flying.
Wow.
He was freaked out. He texted me. He's like, "Dude, I just seen something." It was 1:30 in the morning. I thought about telling him to report it to MUFON. You know, they take reports like that. But yeah, crazy stuff.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
Wow.
Of course, I've seen one before, but it's been a long time.
Yeah,
Well,
and I
actually,
don't
you
think
can cross-reference that with Dr. Sky out of George Norrie has Dr. Sky on every couple of days. You can go see if there were.
I forgot
You
about
can go
him.
see. Yeah, you can see if there were additional reports that day of that thing in your area, and you can
There you
upload
go.
your own report, and other people can cross-reference.
Yeah, he's pulling it up now. That'd be interesting to find out because he's seen it. He's like, man, I wouldn't have seen it unless I looked up. And when I seen it, there's a lot of military activity around here in Fort Collins, Colorado. I mean, we got a lot of military bases around us. Obviously, Colorado Springs right down the road. A lot of weird stuff happening around here as far as paranormal activity. It's the West, you know, so.
Yeah.
But we find that everywhere, even up there where you're at. Weird stuff going on.
I tell you, I look up at the sky every night, all night, and my God, I don't ever get to see my UFO, man. I've never.
No, they're
Yeah.
hard.
See it yet.
I'm with you too. I don't think
Yep.
I've ever really seen one before either, and I want to. I want to see ghosts. Well, I don't know. I'd probably shit my pants, but
Yeah, ghosts.
I mean, I believe in it, but I just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, well, I've worked a lot of night shifts. I can tell you I've looked in the sky a lot. I know what's a satellite, what's a plane. Haven't seen one in years. I have seen one, though, and it was a long time ago.
Have you told that experience on the podcast?
Yeah, I think so. It was a triangular black shape with 3 lights.
Wow.
That was like 10 years ago.
Kind of like what
Well,
they saw
not-
in Phoenix.
Similar, yeah. Yeah, it's a triangular shaped thing. It was weird.
Yeah, that's sounds like the TR-3B. That's actually been patented now.
Has it been patented? It reminded
Yeah.
you know what it reminded me of was a blimp because it was so quiet. It was like if you didn't look, you wouldn't even know it was there.
How far was it from you? Or
It's hard to tell. There was a mountain in between me and it, so that's how I could tell it was a solid object. Because at first I thought it was 3 helicopters flying in a triangular formation, you know.
mm-hmm.
But as soon as it went across the front of the mountain, I think the moon was out. I could see it was a solid
Wow.
triangular. Yeah, it was.
That's
It was a
nuts.
long time ago.
Where
but
was
it
this at? In Colorado?
That was in Durango, Colorado.
Wow.
In the early morning, like 3 a.m.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah. If you look at the patents for the TR-3B, it looks like 3 Nazi bells, 1 at each corner, and then ancillary structure in between them.
Right. Yeah. And that's probably what they're doing because, I mean, they figured it out, man. They hold all the good stuff for themselves. You know that. They cover it up as national security. You know, it's
Yeah.
national security, whatever. This technology they have could help humanity.
They're definitely doing a slow rollout of the imaging around the solar system of artificial structures, though. I mean, they're releasing high-resolution images now. And there's weird competition too. Like there's 17 cameras. Have you guys checked out what the Curiosity rover is imaging on Mars these days?
No.
I look from time to time just to see the images it posts.
Yeah, they if you go to the Enterprise mission, they post some of the most interesting ones. That there's thousands of people going over these images with a fine-tooth comb because NASA's actually releasing them. JPL website also releasing them. But like it's kind of weird because you ever seen that Godzilla monster Ghidorah with the 3 heads? And,
Yeah.
and it's all crazy. Like 3 different guys running the heads, and they're all over the place. And that's kind of how the Curiosity rover is. Like certain different contractors have control of the various cameras on the Curiosity rover.
Oh, wow.
So like one camera will pick something up and they'll say, "Hey, let's look closer." But oh no, hold on, that camera's run by Lockheed, or this one's run by Michael Malin from NASA, or this one's run by JPL, and they won't reimage each other. There's this weird internal dynamic there.
Yeah.
But yeah, look up the picture of the human shoe on Mars, or any of the machinery that's on the Enterprise mission on the Mars site now that Curiosity is. Here's the interesting thing about Curiosity. You remember how like the sunspots on the sun are all at 19.5 degrees latitude, and I've gone over that 19.5 being that critical number.
Yeah.
That where the tetrahedral point nests out on the sphere, which is the torsion field upwelling point, whereas the hexagon on the pole is the input point of that energy, the intake.
Right.
Now the Curiosity rover landed in Crater Kale. When Crater Kale, and they landed it really cool too. They had this big platform coming down on retro rockets, and it hovered above the surface of Mars. And then they lowered the rover down on these cables, the sky hook, and dropped it on the ground. Really cool, right?
Right.
They did that when Crater Kale was over the horizon from Mars. In other words, it couldn't be seen. In other words, they were completely depending on telemetry of the satellite to do that.
Wow.
Now, why would they wait until Crater Kale was around the other side of Mars to drop it? If you're standing on the roof of the White House at that particular moment, Mars was 19.47 degrees exactly above the horizon, and 19.47 is the exact number. 19.5 is just a rounding thing.
From the White House?
Oh, yeah. If you're standing on the roof of the White House, Mars was exactly 19.47 degrees above the horizon at that exact time. So they actually, every landing of NASA or any of these other countries on a planetary body, they land it when the stars in Orion's belt are at 33 degrees above the horizon, and they landed at a specific latitude and longitude symbolically. Every landing is symbolically tied up with all these numbers.
That's crazy. There's also a lot of people who believe like the Mars rover isn't even on Mars. It's just out in Area 51 desert rolling around, that they just siphon off all this money for these projects and use them for black budget stuff. When they say that, it cost us $4 billion to go to Mars, but it was worth it. And
no, here's the thing: that stuff is so far underground that we can't touch it anyway. There is no reason for them to fake a Mars landing to steal $4 billion from us. I mean, they can do that.
Yeah, right.
That's just pure chump change. I mean, let's not add any further layers that need to be added. I mean, if they want to steal money, I mean, we got the experts for hiding money in Washington
definitely.
and the defense. Yeah, they could tell us it was for anything. They wouldn't even have to tell us. The Federal Reserve will just print a few more zeros on the end of something.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Print some more money. Yeah, that's what's funny. You run into people that are like, oh, yeah, do you rent or buy? Do you rent or own? They're like, oh, I own. No, the bank owns. Because now the bank owns the property, and if you can't pay it, they still own it because they made the money out of thin air to buy property.
Oh, yeah. And they own you, too. Just go to your birth certificate. It's printed on securities exchange paper. Go down to the lower left-hand corner of your birth certificate. There's a series of red numbers there. Yeah. And those red numbers, just take those to your stockbroker, any competent stockbroker, and he'll look you up on the New York Stock Exchange, and he'll find out how much you're worth and who owns you.
What? No.
No kidding. Go get your own birth certificate.
I have
one,
at the bottom. The original.
Yeah. It says printed on securities exchange paper, right? The green one that looks like your car title.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now in the lower left-hand corner, there will be this little series of red numbers, and they're printed in red indelible ink. That series of red numbers, your stockbroker can look that up, and he'll tell you who owns you and what you're worth.
What?
Who owns you?
Oh, exactly. And like Abraham Lincoln said, he said, "I fear I haven't freed the slaves. I fear that I have instead reduced everybody to
a
corporate
slave."
slavery."
Yeah, because he got killed by the bankers.
Well, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, look where we're at.
He's trying to make the greenbacks, man.
This is a great place for slavery.
Oh yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, well, slaves here house and feed themselves. That's the great thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And they work like dogs, and they've got it dialed in America. If you're going to do slavery, just give people credit cards. No problem. They'll enslave themselves.
Visa or MasterCard. Whatever. Yeah, it's starting to get crazy. We see more people waking up because they look around, see the materialistic thing, and it's like everybody's just dying to go to Target and get that latest bullshit. Everybody's dying for the latest material, and I'll never forget Nelly the rapper. He got so rich, and he's like, man, I just wanted a flying car. I thought if I ever got rich, I'd get a flying car. I can't believe there's no flying cars yet. It's like, yeah, because you can't go too far, okay? If you had a UFO, you'd be gone. You wouldn't be paying taxes, okay? You wouldn't be stuck here trying to get loans, and you'd be gone. If you had free energy.
Get your own flying car.
Yeah, right.
Oh
Or
yeah, if you
jetpack.
look up autogyro.
Autogyro?
Yeah, autogyro is the closest you're going to get for your income to a flying car.
Or you could just go take plane lessons, I guess. Fly a plane. Let's look at the autogyro.
Yeah, autogyros, you can land them anywhere. You can take off at about 10 feet.
Dang, look at that thing. That's pretty cool. I wonder how much that costs. I'd like to have one.
Yeah. A really nice one is like the same cost as a really good sports car or a brand new 4x4 pickup truck.
Okay. That's pretty neat.
Or you can,
Man,
can build your own.
Right. I would
James Bond.
I would hate to. Yeah, James Bond. Who's the guy that gives him all the
Q?
Yeah. Gives him all the gadgets. It's Q, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Q. You give him one of these. But I don't know if I could fly one of those. I'd be scared.
I hear they fly easily, like an ultralight, just like a car.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, and they were first highlighted in James Bond. So if you look up the guy who built the autogyros for James Bond, they were pretty simplistic-looking skeletal back then. But now the newer autogyros look like a freaking sports car, and you can do everything you could imagine that you could do with a flying car, and you can run them on pump gas.
We need to get one. Do you got one, Ted?
No, but in the back of Popular Science, normally you can find plans for your own autogyro online. So if you're pretty handy with the wrench, you can build one if you really, really trust yourself.
Definitely, yeah, no doubt. Hire somebody to try it out first. Wow, look at that thing. That's cool. It does look like a sports car. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, obviously this is all cool and whatnot, but this torsion field physics and some of these the vacuum force and these energies, they've already, like the Nazi Bell, the TR-3B, I mean, man, they have really held back on us. And it's for national security because they're afraid the economy would collapse, I imagine, if they were to release it.
No, we're a capitalist society. I can't imagine it's going to collapse. It's just some of the big players now will turn into small players, and there will be other big players. And the current big players are probably trying to. They got all four feet held onto the frame of the door, trying to stop it so that they have a chance to diversify into something that's going to be useful in the new paradigm. You know. Right.
Exactly. Yeah, they've always done that. But
paradigms don't change because of ideas. Paradigms change because whoever was the old guard in the last paradigm, they die. That's
the old guard. Change. Yeah, no doubt. When do you think it's going to change? Are we still waiting? Red October?
No, it's totally going to change when we wake up to it. That's really all I can say is, when when enough people get their feet on the ground and get out of Target and stop using their MasterCard,
Master.
Then we're gonna. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Ted. Well, we're gonna cut it here and jump off of here and maybe go build a gyro car.
Hey, one more thing. Remember Space 1889? The secret of Phobos, right?
Hell yeah, that was some good stuff.
Yeah, look up on enterprisemission.com, and you'll find that Phobos is quite clearly, if not certainly, an artificial object. So I would say the Space 1889 film crew, Mahara Stritter and her husband and all the folks who jumped into there, I think they were channeling something. I don't think they were making a fictitious movie. They were channeling it out of the ether into a movie. The secret of Phobos is an artificial object. It's there. Right there on Enterprise Mission, and you can go look up all the photos yourself on. Yeah, you can look up all the photos yourself on JPL NASA websites. These things are no longer being hidden. So, when people say, "Oh, it's being hidden from us," it's like not really anymore. That was last year. This year they're there. They're out there. They're in
Whoa.
our face.
Look at that. Looks like just a giant rock. Is that a real
Yeah.
picture? For the world
yeah.
is hollow.
If you go to enterprisemission.com, they have really great blown up images of the various components of that satellite, and it's pretty obviously something odd. And if you look at when America sent their satellite there, the satellite imaged a shadow coming up on them, and then the satellite went offline.
Wow.
So that we lost one of our satellites going to Phobos, and there was a shadow that came up just before we got hit.
Ooh.
So hey,
That's
secret of Phobos. There's
That's
the
a secret.
of Phobos.
It's kind of like that Dark Knight satellite. Have you heard of that?
Oh, the Black Knight.
Black Knight, yeah. That'll be.
I haven't.
Yeah, obviously that's a little elusive, but
Yeah,
satellite.
I haven't dove into that one yet, but that one's intriguing.
Definitely.
And that would match with a Type 2 pan-solar civilization existing all around. Keep in mind, Krypton was the name of the planet that blew up in the asteroid belt that they called it in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And of course, then Krypton became Superman's home planet. The planet blew up. I mean, the face on Mars thing too. If you got one more, or do I need to get rolling here?
No, go ahead. What?
Oh, okay. The face on Mars was first imaged in 1976 by the Viking orbiter.
Yeah,
and that's
right.
where
I remember that.
That's where Richard Hoagland started going off on all this face on Mars stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's not the first appearance of the face on Mars. Go back to a Jack Kirby comic book from the 1950s, and he clearly showed the exact face on Mars in his comic book. So
really,
this whole undercurrent of this civilization that crosses the solar system has been around forever. It's just been kept on the QT. But certain people have known about it, including
oh my
Jack
gosh,
Kirby.
Look at that. The face on Mars. Wow, and that's from this.
Yeah.
This is from way before.
Yeah, or how about more modern? Let's go to Mission to Mars, the Brian De Palma movie. Brian De Palma did Scarface, right?
Yeah.
Very famous director. He also did Mission to Mars. Now, where else do you hear the name De Palma? Bruce De Palma, who is the torsion field physics engineer from the 60s and 70s.
Wow.
That was Brian De Palma's brother. And the movie Mission to Mars, where they enter the face on Mars and translate to another dimension, was Brian De Palma's homage to his brother Bruce on Mars. And I would like to direct everybody to look very carefully at the wristwatch when the astronauts are waiting for pickup. You'll see the second hand crosses 19.47, 7:47 military time, 19.47.
Wow. Crazy, man. What does 747 mean?
19.5, 19.47, 7:47 in military time is 1947.
Yeah. Okay.
So 19.47 is the latitude of Jupiter's red spot, Neptune's blue spot, Olympus Mons on Mars. This is the upwelling point of torsion field physics. The inwelling point was the hexagon, or what you could call a three-dimensional or two-dimensional reflection of a three- or fourth-dimensional dual-nested tetrahedron at the pole. And then that's the input point of the energy in a rotating body with huge amounts of angular momentum. That's what torsion field deals with.
Man,
rotational.
What is going on,
energy.
man? What is going on? Is this the hidden hand? Is this?
It's all right there in front of us, man.
Yeah, but what are they doing? Are they messing with us? Are they like, some people know what's going on, we're gonna mess with them?
They're telling us all we got to do is put the pieces together and we're good. As a society, not just me, not just you, everyone's got to put the pieces together. We got to go above critical mass.
Yeah, definitely. Gosh, if only we could do that. I'm so ready. I'm so ready. And I think everybody out there listening's ready. Come on, people.
And we'll bring a few along with us. And in the meantime, I'm ready to be wrong. I mean, I'm sure I'm wrong about half of what I know. The other half is maybe right, and then tomorrow I'll know something else. 10 years from now, I'll look back on me now and go, "But God, I was full of shit." You know?
Well, I don't think so. I think you're on my wavelength as well. That's a lot of my thinking, is that they had it for a long time. They throw little clues in our face like this kind of thing, and it's just undeniable. You know, like in The Matrix, the 9/11 expiration date of Neo's passport, that kind of stuff. It's. But it's always murder and mayhem and destruction and death. They worship death and destruction. They've got to be evil.
Yep, they have to be evil, and they have to keep us down until we can't be kept down. When we step up and can no longer be held down, that's when they stop keeping us down. But somehow, existentially, they're required to kick us in the freaking balls until we cannot be kicked anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone's just gotta wake up, stand up, get up, go.
Yeah, and a lot of people believe in that hidden hand theory, which is exactly like you're talking about, to get people to wake up. It's like they're actually all good, and they're doing things that are good and bad, making a show of it so that we overcome it. Like the Federal Reserve, these kind of evil organizations were put into place for us to overcome them as a whole, so that we will all advance to the next stage of consciousness.
You know, we just really have to up our game, and that frustrates me because I'm like, how do I up my game? And I'm like, God, it seems so confusing. I just keep gathering more grammar, more information,
Yeah.
and apply the Trivia method to everything I can and try and discern what the hell is going on. And what I find out is usually it's not as complicated as I thought. It's just utterly unbelievable. I know I'm at the point of truth when I find that it's unbelievable. Then I know I'm there.
Yeah. Right.
You know, like Sherlock Holmes said, once you removed everything that's impossible, whatever's left, no matter how improbable, you've come to the truth.
That's truth right there, brother. And I think we're going to cut it here, though. It's been about 3 hours. Eddie looks like he's about to pass out. Yeah, so next week, guys, for all you listening, we're going to try to do the show earlier. What do you think, Ted? We're going to try to do
I'm
an
game
earlier
for whatever time you are.
Earlier time, see how that works for some people.
Yes.
We've had a couple of people already cut out because they got to work tomorrow. I got to work tomorrow, too, but... Hey,
Yeah,
Ted.
at least they didn't cut out because they were bored at fourth shift, maybe.
Right. Well, Ted, man, thanks so much for coming on, talking to us about this subject. This is fascinating stuff. I'm going to keep researching, and I think you should too. We're connecting some dots here. The guy we're having on next week, oh my gosh, this guy is decoding movies and stuff, and the dude's out there.
Oh, it's one of my favorite subjects is decoding movies, man. It's great
This
stuff.
is good stuff.
That's where they put the information for us.
Yes, they do. Yeah, man, it's all there. Absolutely. So, looking forward to that. But I'll let you go for tonight, man. Stay safe out there, Ted. Keep it live.
All right. Thanks a lot. We'll catch you later, Resident Rich.
Catch you later, Renaissance Ted. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So, guys, that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it very deeply. You can check us out on hiddenpathpodcast.com.
And you can check us out on Twitter, Facebook. Twitter our handle is Hidden Path PC. And Facebook is facebook.com/Hidden Path Podcast.
Oh, yeah. Sleep well out there.
Night-night, termite.
Night-night. Sleep well.